computer. Okay, good morning to everyone joining us here in London. It's 10 o'clock in those very early times in the US, in Canada, evening time in Indonesia, in Australia, Pakistan, India, Japan, but Japan is also too late. But thank you very much for all of you joining us. Of course, good afternoon to those in the Middle East and in the Arab countries. I can see from Saudi Arabia, I can see from Uganda. So thank you very, very much. This is the fourth day of our 24th International Conference for World Association for Sustainable Development. We had fantastic 3 days, and the discussion ranged from a lot of discussion about AI, really fantastic. And yesterday, I think those in the room or those joining, we had a very nice keynote. All the discussion was brilliant, but the one yesterday, I think it really stood up for me, and I think for many people, because the director of the AI at Imperial College, originally, he was an engineer, and then he takes social science. Even he's a professor of organizational behavior. But when you see people from social science leading in this area of AI, really make a difference. And you can see his talk, he reminded us of something, not about just data science, being a data scientist, but this is really the issues which he discussed yesterday about the job security and so on and so on. So it was fantastic talk. And the day before we had Jennifer, her talk was also fantastic about helping those with disability, digital disability, and how come they managed to get that course available online, free of charge from Goldsmiths in London. And then the fantastic presentations, a lot of discussion on AI, data science is really have been amazing. We looked and listened to many papers from Indonesia, Bangladesh, Trinidad. It was really good. Now, in our last day today, this 2 hours, we have dedicated them. We originally wanted to organize this conference from last year. We call it honoring our founding members. And I tell you why. Many people, they ask me, many times I give these questions, because people, they know Alam, they see Alam like in everywhere. But actually, I keep reminding people every time. There's a lot of people, not behind Alam, but founded this organization many years ago. And maybe let me start by the first thing I would like to share, so I can, this has been very difficult for me to try to organize this, really. It was very difficult. If I take you back to the website, you can see WAV started actually in 1999, very long time ago, when I was in Edinburgh. This is 27 years ago. But if you look, this organization is founded by people who were extremely, if you like, diverse in terms of their background, their knowledge, their expertise, and so on. I don't want to go long in the list, but this is Ron McQuaid and John Adams. At the time we started this, they were both professors at Edinburgh Napier University in Scotland. That's long time ago. And Lynette Tilowi from South Africa, John Nasambo from Uganda. And then in 2024, I remember she came all the way from the Caribbean, Dr. Gail Rigobert, and then Michael Bosler from Stockton, and then Beverly from California, Seema Joshi. One of the founders also is Professor Paul Davis, who died 4 years ago. One of the best professors, and he in agronomy from the Royal Agricultural University, and really the one who actually kicked off this organization officially in London 2023 was Professor Janet Drucker. At that time, she was the dean of the business school at the University of East London. And then we were very lucky to have Geoffrey Oldham from Sussex. We also lost him. And then the list will go on and on and on. So it's very difficult to go. Though what we decided, number one, we will start, some people have, it become very challenging for them to contribute. I mean, Beverly, we saw her 2024 in Geneva, but this year she said she's really having some health issues. It's becoming very difficult for people to still continue. I mean, some people are still very active, like Michael Bosler, Lynette Tilowi, Gail, Brahim, Adil, and so on, Ihab, and so on. David Newton also told us it's becoming very difficult for him to to still contribute. But I would like to say something. You will see this video. I'm not saying Ron and John, you are getting all that, no. But I tell you what Professor Kotler, and I promise him once this video is edited, I'm going to pass it on to the UK Age UK, which is a big organization, you all know. These people is a big organization. They keep asking people for funding, donation, and so on. But what they are missing, is very important point. Professor Kotler mentioned it 2 days ago in his keynote speech. He said aging should be seen as an opportunity, not a problem. And anyone listen to Kotler, who I think is 89 now, in his keynote on Tuesday, and his keynote last year, when he talked last year about the wicked problem, he said the problems we are facing in the world, he called them wicked problems. Anyone, policy, government, they said to me, Alam, this guy is right. These are not just sustainability problem or climate change. They are wicked problem. Just look to the Iran and the US war. This is wicked problem. It's not a normal problem. It's not about nuclear, not nuclear, or the safety or Hezbollah, whatever it is. It's a very wicked problem because there's many wicked things happening. So you can see the people like Kotler with their, not with their age or the amount of years they spend teaching, learning, writing, but the way they think about the world is very different. And I think this is the opportunity, and we are so lucky to learn from people like from him. And this year he was talking 2 days ago about aging. Every country now, every country is talking about how to deal with aging population. But Kotler telling everyone, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity. These people who have experience in life, in teaching and so on, you need to learn from them. When you looked, I mean, I'm just because I'm very close to, because John taught me, I looked into, if you look at John on Ron McQueen, list of just PhD students, just a sample snapshot, you will see that these two people, among themselves, maybe they learn by supervising PhDs at least 50, 70 countries. You will find some of their students from Korea, from Uganda, from Saudi Arabia, from Bahrain, from Trinidad, from the Caribbean, from Mauritius. So the knowledge they learn just by supervising PhD students is unbelievable. And the one who joined is going to speak to us today. You will see that. And of course, then you will go through the Europe and America and the. So this is where I think we have been very lucky. I don't know, although my area is knowledge transfer and technology, but I think one of the roundtable I'm very keen to organize very soon about how can we capture the best knowledge from experts like Ron and Don. Publication is very easy. I mean, John might not even have a copy of this, but this is the first article we published, me and John, 1999. This is easy to find this. This is in Pakistan. But what is not easy is to learn from these people, humbleness, politeness, endless support. And I'm going to go through this. As I said, I'm going to try to restrict myself to a specific roadway so I can give chance to the people going to join us. Particularly, we have many ideas. But one of the things I wanted to say now before we start, we've been discussing this because we also got in the US, there's two people really we want to honor them, Beverly and Douglas. I think one of the suggestions came from one colleagues. We need to organize WSD conference in their cities. I mean, we're very lucky, both John and Ron, they are in Edinburgh. So definitely we will explore this option. Actually, the international conference should go to Edinburgh, so they will have much better chance we can see them face to face. Because seeing them face to face for many, particularly for the young students, I think it will be fantastic for the PhD students, for the young researchers like the one we saw yesterday from India, from Sussex and so on, to give them the opportunity. And I gave the example when Kotler was talking, Chris Freeman, the founder of the National Innovation System in this country worldwide, Sussex University built a center under his name. It's called the Freeman Center. When I joined Sussex, I went into that building. But the point is, when Chris used to come to the building or to visit the Sussex, the staff, the professor, the dean, everyone, you can't find the chance to sit down with him or even have a coffee or tea. All the students, they will just rush and barricade him because every student wants to listen to him because they are using his work. They want to talk to him and he's so generous with them. They want to have photos with him. I think that's a big thing if we can try to see how we can transfer the experience and the implicit knowledge of these people to their future generation. Kotler like this, and I'm thinking seriously, we can organize a club of those experts, Kotler, Ron, John, and others. There's many of them, Beverly and so on, and try to find how can we make them available. Even every maybe quarter, they give a talk to all, particularly those in developing countries. They will never had a chance to listen to John or Ron. Some are lucky to be supervised by them. So anyway, I will quickly show you our program for today. I think you have seen it, but just a quick reminder. This is what we're going to be doing. We already started anyway. We're going to start, I'm going to give you a brief, very brief history about what they have done. I have a lot of pictures. I have selected 40 or 50 pictures. Then Professor Arshi Naim, our senior editor, she's going to talk to us about these two special issues honoring both Ron McQueen and John Adams. And these are open for anyone to submit, and they will be published as soon as we have them completed. And then we have selected some of either students or colleagues of both John and Ron. And then we will go to Makerere University in Uganda. And then we go to Heriot Watt. I think Jack's in Dubai, I'm not sure, but whether he's in Dubai or in the UK. And then we go to May. May got interesting story to tell about what is her relationship with John Adam or Ron McQueen, because she was not one of their students. And then we will go to Gwen. I hope the timing will not be difficult for her. And then we go back to Patrick. Patrick actually spoken in our conference last year, and he was well received. And then through this journey, we will do our best to give people a chance to intervene. But as I said, that idea of organizing a conference in Edinburgh, and possibly the next one will be maybe in Chicago to get these people in America, I think will be a fantastic idea. So let me share with you quickly this. Where is this one here? I made a very, I hope it is not a boring presentation, but I made this one to try to help. Just 1 second. Let's make this one speaker profile and share. I didn't find the title to call this, but this is what we are hopefully will do. We will be celebrating actually the contribution and leadership, because they have led this organization directly or indirectly, explicitly or implicitly. But at the starting point, this project or this initiative or what we're going to be celebrating here is something started in 1999, and it ended up in being endorsed by the United Nations. One of our initiatives was endorsed officially by the Director General of the United Nations, which is bringing universities together to work on sustainable development. That was 2024. Of course, this is, you will be surprised, this is the first conference organized by both Ron and John in Edinburgh, was about connecting universities to the discourse of development, sustainability. You will see that, I will show it to you. So after 21 years, we managed to get that officially endorsed by the UN. November last year, we managed to launch the London Institute of Sustainable Development, primarily because we have received huge requests from government, from universities, from public sector. We need a course on, say, I'll give you one example. I have no idea about this subject, but I have no idea. Obstetrics and gynecology ultrasound. I'm not a medic, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a physicist, but we managed to create this course and it's very successful now. So what I'm trying to say, this is a result of what started 27 years ago. John and Ron, they were the first people to support this, because they have not just supported me, but any idea I'm going to show you. And I don't know if this is still, I know it's no longer, this building is no longer belong to the university. I don't know what's happened. Maybe John or Ron will tell us what happened to this building. But the story started here in this campus when I was doing my PhD. This is the business school or the accounting and economics department was based in this building. I can't remember the 4th or 5th floor. I was sharing an office here, but I know this building is no longer belong to the university. Maybe they will tell us later. But the story was very long. This is actually, this is John, I think this is one of the picture I have very long time, but probably you still look younger the same way you're looking, John. I think this is 20, this is 1999. I think so. I may be wrong.
2003.
2003. And you still look younger, John. You're growing younger. Now, this is Ron on my graduation. This is my brother. And I couldn't find many pictures on this. This was 2000. When I graduated in 2000, and I still have this picture. This is Ron McQueen. And I think both of them, they still keep the same smile, the big heart, everything. Now, the story started in 1999. There was a big activities by the Development Studies Association, which was based at the University of Strathclyde. And I went to their conference, and then I went to the Scottish Economic Society conference while in Napier. And I realized there isn't much really the connection with development studies, sustainability and development. So when these people called for one of their international conference in 2000, at the University of Karachi in Pakistan, and I remember this, maybe John can't, maybe he may not remember this, but I went to say to him, if there's any way I can go to Pakistan. And he said to me, find out, this is John. He will just say, okay, find out 1, 2, 3. And if you give the answer to 1, 2, 3, you will get the answer. So I said, fine, how much it will cost? And we went, we checked. At that time, I remember you have to go through a university travel agency or something. So anyway, John managed to get them the ticket and the accommodation. So I went to Pakistan. And when I went and I met these people, they are from all over the world, but it was it's called the UK Science and Technology Forum for Development. But it's international. So we went to the University of Karachi, and I realized at that time, there was an issue, even you can see the topic, technology and development in the new millennium. People at that time, they were talking about the new millennium, 2000. You remember the United Nations, the Millennium Goals, not the Sustainable Development Goals. And when I did my presentation, and I will show you that the book still, I have a copy here. So I have met many people. But quickly to take you from that 1999, 2000, this is where we ended up. Not just because we've been endorsed and people like us from the UN, but the United Nations, they wrote, they said the World Association for Sustainable Development has been selected by the United Nations Joint Inspection Unit to work closely. This is the most important unit at the UN, Joint Inspection Unit, in the policy uptake project. So WSD had an input, and we actually organized a roundtable in London with people from California, Cameroon, and so on. The JIU published a report entitled blah, blah, blah. It's a long story. But you can see even that's unusual. That's not very usual. They even thank people by their names or countries because it's a member country. And I have repeated this, and I will do it again. Maybe this is the 200 times. Alam is not about Alam, is about the WSD because the contribution is WSD. So you can see the journey from that idea, which I explore with both John and Ron. They didn't say, Alam, just get your PhD and you finish your work, but they never stopped supporting this. And this is where we are. We've been now involved in the policy of the United Nations. And the final, I think, I'm not saying achievement, but where we are now, and I will show you this shortly. This is what the United Nations, we got the video, she came and officially opened the conference. This is the Director General, Tatiana. And this is exactly what we've been doing from 2004 at Edinburgh Napier University. And this is exactly what we're trying to be doing. He said universities and academic institutions are not only centers of learning, but also hubs for innovation, research, and community engagement. They play a pivotal role in equipping the next generation with the knowledge and skills. And this word, the skills, if you read, I think it will be very hard not to find that word as a keyword in most of Ron McQueen articles or research. Very hard, you will not find that word. Ron is always talking about skills. John, and they're also talking about the regional development and so on, needed to achieve sustainable development. And then I will take you back. So this is a journey. I met many people. These are big people, really, from Glasgow, Brazil, Sweden, and so on. This is Pakistan, 1999. And this is the man with the shirt, with the blue one. He was, I think he was the leader of the Glasgow City Council, the man with the white beard in the middle. The next to me is the top man from Syria, and the one next to him is from Pakistan, and then Professor Haq from Strathclyde, and so on. So when I came back, I told them there is a gap, really. At that time, I haven't finished my PhD. Then we organized the first conference. This was in Edinburgh, Napier University, and you can see Ron here on the top, here. And the one sitting here, standing here, this was the dean of the faculty of economics and accounting. And you can see all these people: Douglas Hensler, Gail Rigobert, and then you see Conrim, who died, I think, 7 years, Sonny Nawanka, Sonny became the rector of the Nigerian Military Academy. Gorinder Singh is one of the most influential vice chancellors in India. Big name now in India. And then the list will go on and on. So this is what happened in, and I'll tell you how this happened quickly in that time. Demirel now, I think she's an associate professor at Imperial, and the list will go on and on. But let me tell you something. This is Ron, and this is the dean. This is John, Ron, and Cassie. Cassie was their senior administrator at Edinburgh Napier University. And the next to her is Conry Mosia, Professor Conry Mosia from Maryland University, one of the key founders of these organizations. This is John in 2004 in one of the sessions talking about Napier University School. And this is, I think this is a formal dinner organized there. But before I jump, now we're going to 2005. I want to stop here and share with you two things very quickly. So we go to West. Yes, all right, we go here. This video will help me. I wouldn't play it all because of the time, but it will help to quickly follow this journey. Okay. We gave it in 2023. This is 3 years old, actually. And we said to them, can you do us an overview video of what we have done so far? And this is what they did. I'm just going to play it quickly. It's available on our website. You can watch it in full. Sorry I just wanted to do it quickly. This is the first conference we organized at the University of East London, when the idea was to create a journal connecting science, technology, and sustainable development. Remember, I told you the idea, which I explored with John, and they all like it, fine, even Rob McQueen at that time. And then I left Edinburgh, I came to London, and then Professor Janet Drucker said, Alan, fantastic. There wasn't any journal really connecting science, technology to sustainable development. So we did this. Janet gave us, that's fine, we can organize this, Alam. So we invited Conrim and so on. And I remember very well, Professor Ronald McQueen came from Edinburgh, attended this. And in that initial meeting, the idea was not an organization. You can see it, first international conference to launch flagship journal where is review of science, technology, and sustainable development. And we did that. 2004, the first conference was held in Edinburgh. We launched the journal, and immediately we got big invitation from United Arab Emirates University, and the person you have seen here, this is Minister of Higher Education of United Arab Emirates. Ron was there, I remember, opening the conference. And you can see there, this was the first conference on in UAE about globalization, technology, and sustainable development. Then after that, because most of us were from business school, people start saying, okay, Alam, you connected science, technology to sustainable development. What about business management, entrepreneurship? And then we launched the second journal, which is entrepreneurship and management. And then Ron and John. In 2009 in Bahrain, you can see John there on the top there. We had fantastic conference, again, under the Prime Minister. So this journey is quite a long journey, 25 years of a journey. And those people are behind it. Everything, the conferences, the initiative, the new journals, not just the science and technology. I'm just trying to speed up. The journal, then I went back to them. There's a gap in the diaspora project. And what is the diaspora? The people like Alam, who are originally from Sudan. Now he's a British. Canadians who are originally from Jamaica, blah, blah, blah. These people can contribute back home. There's a gap in this. We launched the journal, International Journal of Sudan Research. And that project of the diaspora received huge attention by the UN in 2018 in Geneva. And then we launched one for the Arab and Middle East. A lot of work is being done, and they have been behind it. They never, the best way to describe their contribution, I think that's maybe still not giving them really fair, if you like, evaluation of what they have done. But I think the best way to say, these are two decent top academics. They never stop giving. John and Ron, they never, anything you ask them, okay, do this. They never stopped giving, in my opinion. So we went to Bahrain, and then the list will go on. Many people. This is a critical project where John and Ron also supported it strongly. This is a diaspora one, and this was hosted by University of Sussex. At that time, I moved to Sussex. Whenever they manage to come, they come. If they can't make it, but they are behind it every step. This is a significant project for WSD because now I think we are the leading, organizations connecting those. The Parliament listened to us before. I hope they listen to us again about immigration and all this stuff because we have a lot of to offer here. So anyway, this is another milestone project. In 2010, we went to St. Lucia. This is the Prime Minister, Dr. Guy Rigobert was the advisor to the Prime Minister. So you can see what I'm trying here. I don't want you to see my presentation as talking about WST, but I'm talking about the actual and real people behind everything is happening. The people you see speaking or standing up next to a Prime Minister doesn't mean he's the one who managed to bring all this, if you like, huge impact. There's a lot of people behind this, a lot of people. That's why we're honoring them. We're having them. They're listed every time. We keep repeating, these people have done unbelievable work, not for WST, for their own work. The journal, second journal, Ron and John behind it, third journal, even the health. we got them involved to support the I just wanted to stop this picture here because this is, I was looking for this picture, I couldn't find it. If you allow me, Ron, to say this about you, anyone from the, I think the 5 or 6 students or the doctors they're going to talk to us, who they been supervised by Ron and John, they will talk even much more and better about this type of qualities of individual, which we all wish to have. I don't want to be jumping from point to point, but it's just, there's too much to say on this next, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. This is the real Ron McQueen, the humble person, the very decent person. Can you imagine this was after we had dinner. It was a beach hotel in Abu Dhabi, and Joseph, the professor from Botswana, was just enjoying himself. I can't remember what they're talking about. Maybe Ron will remind us, but this is 2012, I think. This is Ron. And one thing, anyone work or studied or did anything with Ron, you will learn about he's a good listener. And anyone met Ron, every place, even John, the same thing. The next time I meet him, your colleague was fantastic. Which one? Ron. They like him, he's humble, he's listening, he appreciates anything. You'll talk to him about, even in Geneva 2018, I remember this very well. This is 8 years ago. 2 things happened. There was a professor came from Sudan called Sarah Saad. Her area is completely far away from Ron. She's working on the environment. Yes, Ron does work on environment and green issues and so on, but his core bread and butter is employment, transportation, study, and so on. Then she came to me, he said, oh, this man is fantastic. I said, who? She said, Ron McQueen. And I said, why? I always trigger people to understand. He's so humble, he's so nice. And he took I gave him one of my brochures about the project we're doing about sustainability in, I hope she's here now. And she said, he's so interested. And he said he will talk about it and he will read. So if you give him a leaflet or a flyer about something, might not even be relevant to him. Most people, they just throw it wherever they got it because it's not of interest to him. During the conference, Ron talked to me at some point. He said, this lady from Sudan is doing fantastic project. So this is the quality of these 2 people. And that's why I keep saying to people, WSD is not about PhD or a master or a professor and so on. And one other thing to go quickly, I think in Bahrain, I can't remember a student or staff from the university or something. He said to me, this man is very, very smart. I said, who? I always get this. And he says, Ron. And I said, what happened? He said to me, he gave me a reflection on my hypothesis. I think it was a PhD presentation or something. And I said, yes, listen to him. He's very, very smart. And then we start talking more into the academics and the hypothesis. And I said to him, by the way, take his advice. Academically, he's one of the best. He's a Harvard graduate. He's an LSE. He's a top person. And then the guy jumped. I said, really? I said, yes, really. Why you don't see him as a Harvard graduate? He said to me, no. He's so humble, Alam. In Arabic, he said, متواضع. In متواضع in English, John and Ron, I don't know if you know it by Arabic by now, it's very humble. In Arabic, when you say it in Arabic, I said, yes, he's متواضع, because that part of those people, this kind of people, you don't find them easy. Yes, Ron is متواضع in Arabic, and Ron and John, they are very humble. I can't remember any time during my whole life knowing them, online or offline, These people are very humble, very, very decent. They listen to anyone. And any initiative you tell them, as long they feel it is going to help someone, they will be on board. So this is the quality of the people we are talking about them today. Quickly, this is another journal we launched. The knowledge. Istanbul, you can see Roma put there, heavily involved. Diaspora project brought up very aggressive. Become very, very well known for this time. Online one. Online, they have done a lot of work, both of them. Where is that online conference? But anyway, we can move quickly. During the COVID, I remember. Yes, online, this is the launch of the United Nations e-learning platform. I'm pretty sure Ron was contributing to this one. Where is it? I'm just like, yes, here, Ronald McQueen. So they, even during the COVID, online, they have never stopped supporting. They never stopped. And that's why Middle East, Africa. I'm going to stop this one and I stop the sharing and I will one final share. So we will then kick off. because, as I said, these things, you cannot really have them in one, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible, to be honest. I found it really impossible. This is in Emirates, Ron McQueen, you can see him here. And here we had the Nobel Prize winner. I have a picture I want to show you here, which is very important in my opinion. This is in Bahrain, John Adams. This is in Bahrain, both of them. In one of the Bahrain visits, Ron McQueen. This picture, I don't know if Ron remember, but this picture in Sudan. When at the time I was in Brighton leading the Knowledge Management Institute, we've been requested to deliver the first knowledge management conference in Sudan. And Ron went. This is in the Nile. This is, we've been taken for a dinner. This is John, went all the way to Sudan to support this country in war now. This is exactly what I said earlier. Very humble people. They sit, they talk. You don't, you never had that barrier of this is a top professor or academics. This is our dean from Brighton at that time. He went with us. Dancing, singing on the River Nile. This is the River Nile in Sudan. Here, I remember this very well because, you know, some people speak in Arabic. It was in Sudan. And I saw it because I know Arabic, I know the Sudanese language. So it's better I speak in Arabic as well because I can connect better with them. They don't see me as someone living abroad. And when I came in the break, because they were, John and Aiden, of course, they have to use the translation. They said to me, we were able to understand every translation of any speaker speaking in Arabic, except you. And I said, why? They said to me, you speak so fast. So the translator was struggling to translate. So you can see this is the first knowledge economy conference in Sudan. This is by the government. So this is what I said. The contribution of those two individuals is unbelievably worldwide. Huge contribution for 3 days through translation. This is Bahrain. This was fantastic conference. We will never, this was this is the director of science and technology policy from UCL. The lead digital officer of the World Bank in digital transformation, fantastic talks. This is in UAE. Now, the man in the middle with the long beard was our director for change management. We went back to Brighton after this conference. He started the same thing. Oh, Ron McQueen, fantastic guy. I'm going to be connected with him. I am going. So they leave impact on anyone. This is Bahrain. I showed you that picture before. The man on the left, he's the senior minister now in UAE, United Arab Emirates, leading the transformation and the Emiratization. His Excellency Al-Naqbi. This is Ron McQueen. This is in Istanbul. Yes, in that, this is something I don't know if Ron remember it or not, but we run every year in the conference the Best Paper Award. And in that particular conference in Istanbul, I think there was the award, it was attached, I can't remember, 250 or 500 pounds, I'm not sure. And the paper selected by the audience, the participants. So WSD or Alam or any of the organizer, we do not get involved. You will get a slip of paper for any presentation in front of you, you evaluate it. Ron McQueen and his colleagues, I think from Dundee University, they had a paper, the video is available, one of the best paper. They've been voted the best paper. I remember it was about green jobs. So you always see John and Ron talking about something really the future. At that time, Ron was talking about green jobs, about renewable energy. This is available in video, yes, evidence. And they were voted the best paper. And then Ron came to me, I remember this deal, we were in Istanbul, and he said to me, Alam, okay, I will take the award, but the money, give it to those who, one of those who you think they were next in the list of the best paper, who came from Africa or from Sudan, whatever it is. So he donated his award. And the thing is, it's not about the 250 pound or 500 pound. It's about, these people are very generous in their, anything they do. Bahrain, this is the minister honoring both John, Ron, Bahrain. This is Emirates, 2005. a different conference. This is also the big story. I hope Ron will remember this. We were in the conference. I can't remember. It was 3 days conference. And then suddenly Ron came to me and said, Alam, it was Ron's ideas, and he's the one who had the idea of making this picture. He said, let's move to that place. We want to take a picture of all those have a relationship with Edinburgh University, Napier University, Edinburgh. And I said, what? And he said, come. What John noticed, sorry, Ron, the man on the glass on the left, this is Muhammad Al-Haj. He's a graduate of Edinburgh Napier University. He's one of the top consultants now in the Gulf. The one next to Ron is Professor Ibrahim Abdullah. He was, unfortunately, he's teaching now. He would love to come to us with us here. He was an ex-PhD student of Professor John Adams. He's one of the top statisticians in the world, really one of the top. In the Gulf, he's one of the top. In Sudan, one of the top. He did his PhD with John, and I think, I can't remember the co-supervisor. And the one on my right-hand side is Dr. Morrison. At that time, he was a lecturer or an associate professor at Edinburgh Napier University with John Adam. And the lady next to me on my left is Professor Wafa Saleh, who is one of the top professors of engineering in transportation engineering, specialized working in the Employment Research Institute, where Ron also have a lot of work with her. And then the one in the middle between all of us is the Nobel Prize winner at that time, Professor Schilling, Thomas Schilling. So Ron's idea, he said he suddenly realized there is a connection between these 6 people, which is Edinburgh Napier University, 3 students, 2 staff, and then he brought the Nobel Prize to make that, and then he took it back to the university. So these people are very, very innovative. And that's what the director of the United Nations said. You need innovation. So this idea of this picture, why the story behind this picture, 2005, was Ron wanted to take back home when he go back to Edinburgh, to show them Edinburgh Napier University. You have your students are very senior. You have your students who is a professor now, and you have. So it was really, this is United Nations when we make the big jump, 2018. This is Ron leading one of the sessions. I think this is a session he was chairing online. You can see Ron here at the bottom talking about one of the big conferences, online learning. And when we tried to, and at the anniversary, we created several of these for the founding members. And in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, these are people who are, I think, in my opinion, they are pioneers. And I think they are pioneers in one sense, because the thing we tried to clear for many years is that sustainable development is not just about the environment, it's not about climate change, it's about a multidisciplinary approach to address all these wicked problems, as Professor Kotler called them. And you can, this is the nature, this is the quality of these people. The way they think of solving the problems is really, really pioneering. So I think this is the one we gave them. And I will stop this one, and I will, I need to show you one last thing before we go. I already said that, but maybe it's just worth reminding where we are now. World Journal of Science, Technology, and Sustainability, founders John Adam, Ron McQuaid. World Journal of Entrepreneurship, Management, and Sustainable Development, International Journal of Sudan Research, International Journal of Food. We keep borrowing their name. They never said no. And also, I remember the Arab, where is the Middle East one? International Journal of Knowledge Management in the Middle East and North Africa, and the list will go on. Yes, they are now, I think they want to have a very peaceful, less workload, or maybe if you call it early retirement, whatever you call it. But we reach a point where we really don't want to keep pushing, asking them for support and so on, because they really have done more than enough. If you go back, I will stop this one again. If we go back to this one, where is it? Just want to show you one last thing. I think it's this one, conferences. Yes. I saw Edinburgh earlier. I can't remember where is it now, but I saw it because this is. Yes. So just to finish, the legacy of John and Ron is this one, really. In my opinion, this is a real legacy, in my opinion. The conference, when they started, the first conference I told you was organized at Edinburgh Napier University by John and Ron. Can you read the title here? Role of academic institutions and societies in achieving the Millennium Development Goals. So this is what we have been doing. This is what John and Ron, they were, if you like, supporting this argument. This is what we are discussing now. United Nations last year, 2024, this is what is the Director General said. Universities, they have a critical role to play in achieving they are no longer Millennium Development Goals. They are Sustainable Development Goals. This is what been discussed 2004, 20 years. And I told her in Geneva, I said, believe it or not, this is what we have been arguing for 20 years now. When we launched the conference. So there is much to say. I'm going to stop here now. And I'm going to pass on two things. What we are doing, number one, we are going to have a call for paper. We already have the call for paper for two special issues, one in honoring John Adams and his area, and one for Ron McQueen. And I would like to quickly, because I think I took a lot of time, I'm going to give the chance to Professor Arshi Naeem to give us, Arshi, sorry, I took longer than I expected. If you can take us through the special issues for both journals, for both the one for John Adams and Ron, and then we can also, I think you will going to get a lot of submission, just at least from the student, there will be a lot of submission. So if the floor is yours, Arshi.
Thank you so much, Professor Alam. This is indeed a very incredible journey of Professor Ronald and Professor John. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present two special issues dedicated to the huge contribution for these two elite members of WAS, founder members, I would say. And I will be giving you an introduction about these two special issues. At the same time, I will also be explaining about the journal's guidelines. So this will facilitate authors to make a reasonable and aligned with the journal. So it will really reduce our work, and we will be specifically focusing on what are the requirements. Professor Alam, am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes, you can share. Go ahead. Yeah, you can share. Yes.
Thank you. A very good morning from Saudi Arabia. This is Arshi Naeem with you, and I am representing World Association of Sustainable Development as a senior editor. And today I will be explaining you the important components of these two special issues. Then I will be taking you to the journal's requirements. So to honor two elite members, we have introduced specific special issues. I'll go by one. Here is the one. Yeah. This special issue will be within the World Journal of Entrepreneurship, Management, and Sustainable Development. I will be talking more about the journal specific also, but first I'll go by special issue. This special issue is about human capital, sustainable economic development, and policy innovation in changing global economy. Before I talk about the background of special issue, from my side, I also would like to give a short introduction about Professor John Adams, although we all know him very well. He is a very distinguished member and a well-known personality. He is a distinguished professor of economics and research degree supervisor in the School of Sciences, Herod University, Edinburgh, Scotland. And Professor Adam has made a profound and lasting contribution in the field of economic development, manpower planning, public policy, and so on. His academic journey is spanning economics, education, advanced research in manpower planning, reflecting a long-time commitment to understand the complex relationship between human capital formation and economic transition. So based on his contribution, we have identified that there has to be one platform, specific platform, I would say, where authors, policymakers, researchers, academicians can find one outlet to contribute. So we have a dedicated special issue. The background of this special issue is about we know that we are into a technological rapid changes, which is shifting demographic patterns, environmental pressures, and increasing global interdependence. And here we find the role of human capital in shaping sustainable economic development, which has become a very critical than ever before. So we are having two challenges here. The first one is to have a fostering inclusive growth and also to make sure that the development pathways remain environmentally sustainable, socially equitable. And so within this context, we have like policy innovation that has emerged a vital instrument for aligning education, skill development, and labor market transformation with the broader goals of sustainable development. So we clearly understand the overview of special issue. This special issue is about human capital, sustainable economic development, and policy innovation in changing global economy, while bringing together cutting-edge research that can explore investment in particular human capital. And the main focus should be on education, training, skill development for long-term economic resilience and sustainability. I would like to move ahead while explaining you the main objectives of this special issue. This special issue will examine the role of human capital in sustainable economic development, will analyze policy innovation to inclusive and sustainable growth, exploring link between education, skills, and labor markets transformation, having an access to global and regional approaches. Like in that case, we are focusing on regions, local, you can say research work, as well as taking everything to the global platform. Also, this special issue will identify best practices in capacity building and skills development, evaluating the impact of globalization and technological changes on labor market, strengthening evidence-based policy for sustainable development, and reflecting the honor of Professor John Adams' contribution to development policy and research. So we are very honored to feature this special issue dedicating to Professor John Adams. Thank you very much, Professor John Adams. Here we have some key themes, but this is not really limited to. If you have some more competitive topics, which are definitely aligning with the theme of the conference, you are very welcome. These are specifically about human capital development, economic growth, focusing on sustainability, education skill formation, manpower planning and workforce development strategies, policy innovation for inclusive and sustainable development, economic development in emerging developing economies, capacity building, public policy, governance and development planning, regional and international development cooperation, investment promotion, economic competitiveness, and evidence-based policy making and applied development research. Just I would like to focus on one very important point here while I'm talking about the themes, which is evidence-based policy. This is really a new, you can say, and very demanding areas where we are trying to establish our research work by providing evidences from the past researches that can be contributed in the policy making. So I would really appreciate if more authors can come up with this theme, evidence-based policy making. We have also identified the target audience for this special issue. Like, for example, the people who are, for example, in academics and economic development, PhD scholars and postgraduate researchers, government policies makers and planners are also welcome to contribute here. International development agencies and NGOs, because this is really very important while we are talking about economic growth, while focusing on sustainability and employment, creating employment opportunities. So it would be great if we can have more publications or more contributions from NGOs, because they are the ones who are really working in local societies and coming up with some critical issues. Labor markets and skill development specialists, universities, training institutions, the organizations which are working on these important and critical issues, economic development and investment agencies, public sectors, and development consultants and advisors all are welcome to contribute in our special issue. This particular part I will deal a bit later after showcasing you the second special issue. But definitely I would like to give you the timeline because this is very important. Every you can say special issue has a process and that we have to commit to, we have to abide. Already the deadline of submitting abstract is like given, which is 15th July. We are a little flexible in accepting the abstract, but we are more strict when we talk about the last or the revised deadline, because we have to really follow the timeline to be sure that our publication is on time, which is January 10th. So here you can submit full paper by 30th September. Revision will be submitted by 20th October, and the due date is 10th January, as I've told you earlier. The important point is that all these publications will be through the journal system. That I'm going to talk to you a bit later. And I will also talk to you about the journal itself. The second special issue is about employment policy, aging societies, and sustainable development, global and regional perspective. I think this is a very important topic, and this is also being covered in the latest book by Philip Kotler and Dr. Khalid Hassan. So we already know that Professor Ronald McGuire has a very huge contribution in this area. Let me again introduce Professor Ronald from my vision and from my perspective, although Professor Alam has given a very, very interesting introduction. Professor Ronald is a very distinguished and dedicated professor in academics and policymaking. If you talk about his exceptional contribution, it is in the field of employment and employability. Now let's understand these two important terms. Employment, it's very simple. But when we talk about employability, it's about identifying the key areas, opportunities that can lead to the youth to the future prospects. Oh, this is not any easy field, but Professor Ronald has a major contribution here. We all are very, very grateful to him for this interesting contribution. Then his work is also based on or focusing on aiding population, sustainability, economic development, and so on. He holds an outstanding academic record with a qualification from Lancaster University, the London Schools of Economics, and doctorate from Harvard University, the best of universities worldwide. His career is focusing on producing more than 100 academic publications that have significantly shaped both scholarly debate and public policy. So he has a huge contribution in research and publication as well. He is one of the founding members, like Professor Ronald, and his intellectual leadership and long-term standing commitment have been instrumental in shaping the organization vision, global engagement, contribution to WAS has helped to advance the interdisciplinary dialogues on sustainable development, employment, inclusive growth, and so on. And today we can see truly the way WAS is growing and has grown up truly represent a huge contribution, and that gives a huge round of applause to both professors. Thank you very much. Let me go to the background now about the specific special issue. This special issue will be focusing more on technological changes as a foundation of employment system across the world. The major focus will be about aging population in particular, because here we like to present both opportunities as well as challenges for economic growth, social protection, and labor market sustainability. At the same time, you know that there is a persistent inequalities in employment, skill mismatch, regional disparities in contributing to demand innovative public response. So against this backdrop, employment policy has emerged as a central pillar in achieving sustainable and inclusive development. So that's the solution we have identified through this special issue. So the focus will be that this special issue will bring together interdisciplinary research that examines how employment policies can respond effectively to the realities of aging societies while supporting sustainable economic development. And I would like to give you a very important competitive advantage of this special issue is that there are very, very few outlets or platforms which are allowing the publications, research work, contribution for aging population in general, or specifically rather. You can just do a small research to identify this. So this is not only to acknowledge the huge contribution of Professor Ronald, also this is a huge contribution from WAS to acknowledge or to bring together this important and critical point in front of the world, that this area requires a lot of research work. So the key focus of this special issue is to have an interaction between employment, social policy, and sustainability. It will encourage contributions addressing the themes such as labor market participation amongst older workers, lifelong learning, skill adoption, flexible work engagement, and so on. Let me quickly show you the objectives of this special issue. It will examine the employment policies, responses to aging societies. It will also bring or explore the pathways of sustainable and inclusive labor markets. It will analyze the employability skills, lifelong learning across the life stages. So our special issue will be dealing with the life after retirement. Put it in a very simple words. When the life is not ending after retirement, then how the work should end. So this special issue will bring together all these important points. The access and global regional approaches to active aging and workforce participation. And as our very important objective, we also like to focus on evidence-based policy that I've explained just a bit before. It will also bring up the evidence-based policy for employment and sustainable development. We have identified some key themes for the special issue, but this is not limited. As I've already said, you can come up with some more competitive topics, but all those should be aligning with the theme of the special issue. This is important. So the key themes are employment policy, labor market from aging societies, active aging, extending working lives. When, as I said, life is not ending after retirement. So how and why the work should stop? There should be some opportunities given to this population. Inclusive and sustainable labor market, aging populations and their contribution in economic growth, social protection, welfare and employment security, regional and global market transformation, health, well-being, productivity in the later life employment. This is very important area these days when we talk about health and well-being for aging population. Technology plays a very important role. So we have another theme which is related to how technology or automation can bring this change in the future work. Inequality, labor market exclusion and social cohesion, evidence-based employment and social policy, sustainable development and demographic change. All these are very important areas that you can focus on while preparing your research work. The target audience for this special issue is pretty similar to the previous one. We are trying to get more contribution from academics and employment, labor economics and social policies, PhDs, researchers, postgraduate students, government policymakers, international organizations and development agencies, employment, skill development practitioners, aging and social welfare policy experts. This is very important area, I would say. If the audiences are contributing from this demographic profile, I think our special issue will become a very rich source of information because they are the ones who are into this situation. Then the research institutes, trade unions, employer organizations, NGOs, of course, who are working quite close to aging population, labor market consultation and advisors, all these audiences can participate in this special issue. It's the same timeline for this special issue, 15 July for submission of abstract, full paper by 30th September, October 20th for having a revision, a final revision, and by 10th January, we hope that our both special issues will be online. Now, this was a very good introduction about the special issues. I think I should also talk about the journal where these two special issues will be featured. You will definitely be very keen to know about, although this journal is very prestigious and we have seen a very extensive contribution and publication in this journal. World Journal Entrepreneurship Management and Sustainable Development. This is a Q1 journal listed in Scopus, ABDC category. I'm just highlighting some important indexing. However, in the current scenario, it is more important that how your research work is communicated with the scholars. So all the papers are open access, by the way. And you can see that also the journal is listed in Web of Science Emerging Sources Citation. So it's the best of indexing that the journal has. I will not go much in detail considering the time factor because I have to explain you the submission process quickly. This is the web page of the journal, by the way. You have all the information which is important to be incorporated while preparing your paper, and submitting it is given here. All you need is to go step by step. The special issue you will find here, for example. If you would like to read the articles published by this particular journal, you can go to the WAS library articles. But my major objective is to explain you the submission guidelines. So I'll just quickly go here, and I would like to showcase you through the journal page itself. All the papers are accepted through the portal itself. So before you plan, you can go and create an account. But my suggestion is that it is very important that you go through entire important guidelines which are aligned with the journals. Now, let me tell you, all the journals are having the exact author's guidelines, or you can say requirements. So I'll go one by one. Before you submit your paper, you have to ensure that your paper has followed the publishing ethics policies and guidelines. What does that mean? It means that the data that you have, for example, used or applied in your research, you have to get the approval if it is, for example, using any information or data which needs ethical approval. Like, for example, if you have used human as the subjects in your paper. At the same time, you have to have a disclosure on the use of data, privacy, conflict of interest, and so on. So we need a proper disclosures in the paper. So we have to follow ethical guidelines, number one. Number two, we also look forward to receive a plagiarism report from Turnitin, which should be less than 20%. At the same time, we also look forward to have a disclaimer on the use of artificial intelligence, that where you have used in the paper while drafting it, while doing analysis, or for example, in translation of the paper, because our journal is very open. We are also accepting papers in other, for example, languages, but we are also providing the translation opportunities. So all these things should be incorporated while we are preparing our ethical statements. I'll just quickly go ahead because I have to talk more important points here. Make sure that your paper is not being submitted elsewhere, or it is not in the process in another journal. It is against the privacy and against, you can say, ethical policies of any journal. You must indicate that what kind of paper is it. For example, we have various types of opportunities like literature review, case studies, simple conceptual papers, research papers. So you have to identify what is the kind or the type of paper or research you have conducted here, empirical research and so on. In WAS, we follow structured abstract. So what does that mean? The structured abstract means that you have to clearly explain that what is the purpose, what is the research methodology, findings, originality, and value. So your abstract should be divided or segmented into these important four categories. But we are also restricting for the word limit. The abstract should not exceed more than 150 words. So you really have to be very specific while you are explaining four important criteria. However, you can also include few more topics like limitations or, for example, policy implication, but these two important points are not the part of word limit within abstract. Add keywords, like from 6 to 10 keywords will be very feasible. And try to pick those keywords which are used in abstract. However, there is no such rules that you should use it, but ideally, it is very important to use the keywords in abstract, because whenever we are publishing our work, the first thing comes is abstract. So if your keywords are showcasing in abstract, the visibility of the paper, the you can say chances of citation increase. So this is a very important suggestion that I would like to give to authors. Now, I'm talking about the requirements first. After completing, you have to have your SDG profile. You can go to the SDGs who's who, and you can register first, of course, and then you will have a link where you can complete your profile. Many authors ask me that why this is important. See, all of us are contributing in the sustainable development goals in some way or the other. So SDG profile gives you an opportunity to showcase your contribution in sustainability in one way or the other. This is one important point. Secondly, it is good for the authors because it is providing a distinguished or niche or a unique profile that is not being given by any journal or any other, you can say, profile online. It is giving a complete different scenario of the author, showcasing their contribution, their education, their contribution to the society. And at the same time, it also explained that what is their contribution to sustainability as an individual, as an author, and for their research. So this is really a unique idea. It's a value addition to all the authors, and I think it's very prestigious, very honored platform for all authors. So do not hesitate and try to complete this profile as soon as possible. You must have your active ORCID profile. Now, this is important. We all know that in research, all our work should be either linked with Scopus or with ORCID ID. It contributes in many ways. For example, for citation purpose, to have a complete database of your research work. It also gives an access to read your work, and that reflects your contribution in the research. So you should have an active ORCID profile. This I have already explained to you about plagiarism and AI generated report, as well as copyright form should be signed by all the authors before we finalize your work. Now let me quickly come to the TypeScript preparation. This is a place where many authors are stuck. So you should have, for example, as I've explained you, that the abstract should be structured, and all the references that you are, for example, having should be clearly given in the reference list, cited in the text. This is very important. All the references should include active and accessible link or DOI. For example, you are using any paper as your reference, so go to the journal, get the DOI from there and have it in the reference list. If it is a website or any other source, you have to provide the link, how that can be verified or how that can be accessed. All this we are doing just to authenticate your contribution. And as we know, due to the huge application of AI, even this is a very important area to be worked on. Papers should be updated with all the important and original work, author's information, and once accepted for the publication, you must appear, it should be appear periodically. Our journal is having, for example, double-spaced. You have to prepare your paper by using, for example, Arial 11, A4 sheet. We encourage the authors to submit their paper in Microsoft Word format, not in PDF, because it is helping us, for example, to format your paper as per the requirement of the journal, number one. Number two, we can also give you reviews more easily. However, PDF is not a limitation to us, but this is just a suggestion, I would say. The paper should not exceed 5,000 words, including references. We are very strict about the word limit. So please follow this. In WAS, for all the journals, we follow UK English convention. So please make sure that all your paper is following UK English, which means, organization should be SA, not ZA. This is just one of the examples that I have given you. Translated work, I have already explained to you. References, we follow Harvard style, but with a slight, you can say, difference. The difference is that after the year, we would like to have 2 dots here, just to be unique. Nothing else. I would like to quickly come here about authors and authorship. Now, this is also one very important area that I have identified, that many times I have seen that papers are having 4 authors, 5 authors, even 6 authors without justifying their contribution in the paper. So let's be very sure that when you are having, for example, 4 authors in a paper, it should be clearly given that what are their contribution from identifying research objectives, curating of data, for example, working on the proof, and so on. So you have to disclose every potential conflict, interest, that may be present in your work, and you have to be very honest about your contribution. You have to be honest, and you have to be giving everything very, very accurately. Now, what we say that ideally each author, regardless of their position, that first, second, or so on, we just expect that one author should have one publication in a particular special issue. So this is also one of the rules that I would like to explain it to you. Now, very important point that the number of authors, we have also restriction on number of authors, which should not exceed 3. So submission listing more than 3 authors will only be considered where this study is substantially focusing on empirical study. You are developing some strong research model, and then you are justifying it as a real application. Only under this situation, we expect, or we just, for example, first of all, we analyze it, and then we accept it for the further processing. So make sure that your paper should have 3 authors if it's a simple paper. If it is an empirical based, or you have created or developed a model, we also know that it cannot be worked by 3 authors. There has to be more contribution. Only under this situation, we, you can say, accept more than 3. So you really need to bring a lot of practical justification for authorship. Types of papers I've already explained, but if you would like to know more, you can go to the journal's website and learn about what are the different types of papers and what are the influences on those types. For example, if your paper is a conceptual paper, it should define the need, purpose, approaches, and solutions. What are the theories that you have used? What are the philosophical discussions or comparative studies? If it is a literature review, you have to cite relevant literature. If it's a review, then you can explain the historical examination of industry system and so on. So the different types of papers and how to segregate your research work, you can come here on the website and you can learn clearly. Abstract, I've already explained that we follow structured abstract. Example is already given for you. So there shouldn't be any discrepancies or any problems here. As I have told you, that research implementation and practical implementation, here the word limit is not counted. The word limit 150 is only until originality or value of the paper. Keywords also I have explained. So use 6 to 10 keywords, up to you. But ideally, 6 keywords are good enough to showcase your work. Style also I've explained it to you that we allow, for example, only UK English. Try to avoid technical jargons. If you're using any new term, okay, one very important point for all of us. Many times I've seen in the papers that authors are making assumptions. For example, they are writing AI. We all know AI is artificial intelligence, but in research, it doesn't go that way. You have to explain all the abbreviation first, define it, and then use it consistently. The point here is that your research work should not have an assumption that reader knows everything. No, it should be other way around. It should be like from your research, the authors will learn all these important information. So please try to avoid all these assumptions. Have the full form first. You can use it consistently later in your paper. Number 1. Number 2, everything that you're using in your paper, you have to explain specifically in short, without using very or strong technical jargons. So your research work is not about how you are rich in using vocabulary. Rather, it should be simple, straightforward, using scientific English. This is more important. And by the way, we have a very strong editorial team, which is providing a strong editorial support also. If you would like to have editorial support, you can contact admin@was.org.uk. So here are the unit of measurement that you have to use. Okay, another very important point, tables and figures. I should not miss this point. Many times I've seen that randomly authors are presenting tables. Again, the reason is that they are having assumptions. No, you have to cite every table in the text. For example, you can go here and you can read it also. Table 1 presents the distribution of respondents across different industry sector. So as a reader, when I'm coming to table 1, I know that this table is about different industry sector. So every table, every figure should have in-text citation. You have to explain what this figure is talking about or what this table is talking about. Have a simple tables. And all the tables should be in the editable mode. Do not use image, do not use picture. This is against the rules of all the journals, I would say, not only for WAS. At the same time, give the source from where this information has been extracted. Or if this is, for example, analyzed by you as an author, so also you have to mention that analyzed by authors. The same procedure for figures also, that you will, for example, you will do the same. You will have in-text citation, you will have a figure, and at the same time, you will give the source. One important point for the figures, that all your figures should be in high resolution, because we are allowing image also. But again, if your figure is extracted from the data, for example, you are creating a figure from this data, then it is more acceptable, or it's more feasible to have, for example, an editable figure. You can extract data from Excel sheet and have you can say figure there. So it will make a better impression about, and it will also showcase your originality. So this was about the submission guidelines that we follow for all the journals in WAS. And if you're stuck anywhere, or if you have any question, we have a team of editors, we have the team of supporters who can always guide you and who can always support you in your research work. Thank you so much. I will stop sharing here. And I'm open to the questions. If there is any, I can answer. Thank you so much, Professor Alam, and thank you everyone for having this session together. Thank you. Professor Alam, you're mute.
Thank you very much, Archie. Wonderful, very extensive support. And we really want these two special issues to be very unique, top quality, and as I said, it's open for all people to submit. We will definitely support the students and the ex-students of John and Ron. Now, because of the time, I really want to go quickly, because we decided to give opportunity to students or ex-students or people working with John and Ron, because many people are very keen. And some people, they blamed us. They said, this is Summer Alam. We would love to be there. The timing is not good. But we said, it's just happening. But we will continue, definitely give opportunity. So I would like to go to Uganda, start from Uganda. Let me find, yes, I think I will have to make you co-host. Now, we're going to we're starting by one of former students of Ron McQueen. And I really like the title he proposed for his talk, Mentorship for Sustainable Development Beyond Borders. Really like the title, Doctor. A special honor to Professor Ronald McQueen. This is Dr. Sibiria Wiyanma from Makerere University in Uganda, which is a top university in Uganda, and I see across Africa. He's a senior lecturer there. I really like this title, and I can now tell you, I wish you can make it in a proper full paper, because this is interesting. So you are a co-host, you can share and go ahead. We're looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. And it's a great honor to see Ron. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, just make it bigger. Click on show. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. And it's a great honor for me to be here to share with you, more so after several years having gone through the hands of Ron McQueen. Just to introduce myself, I was a PhD student at University of Stirling. That was 2014 to 2018. And I was supervised by Ron McQueen as my main supervisor. So I'm his mentee, and I've gained a lot through his incredible works and very outstanding mentorship that I received from him. So I'm going to walk you through a few slides just to share about who Ron is and what mentorship is all about, and how he is indeed a great mentor, and how we can be challenged as academics and different players in the sector of academia to mentor many others across boundaries and more so for sustainable development. Now, talking about my presentation is simply to honor Professor Ronnie McQuaid's contribution in different areas of scholarship, mentorship, sustainable development, and largely because we reflect on him, appreciating that indeed mentorship is a key driver in academic growth, professional development, and even in cross-border knowledge exchange. Now, this is Ron and myself at University of Stirling. What an incredible day. This was the day of my PhD defense. That's when I had my viva, and we took that photo immediately after my successful defense. It was quite intriguing, very, very encouraging, and I was indeed excited, as you can see by the smile. Ron, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to do a PhD at University of Stirling. If it had not been for your acceptance of my proposal, I would not be where I am today. I would not be with a PhD probably. So I wish to congratulate myself, but above all, appreciate your support and mentorship that has brought me this far. Why are we talking about Ronnie McQuaid? A lot has already been said, and I'm just going to re-echo what we have heard. That indeed, Ron is a renowned scholar, and his works span areas of employment studies, labor markets, public policy, transport and sustainability, as well as regional development. Now, why would that be important? He's not just a UK scholar, but he's an internationally recognized person. His research, and more so interdisciplinary research, cuts across different spheres of life. He has touched areas of policy relevant scholarship that has come up to shape and support many people, and therefore give direction to different countries and the globe at large. He has built capacities in different areas of practice as well as academia. And we stand here to recognize him, to appreciate him for the incredible work that he has done. How do we look at Ron in terms of mentorship? What has been his philosophy as a person who went through his hands, who was mentored by him? What has been his mentorship philosophy? Ron always grounds his work in intellectual rigor. He emphasizes rigor. He sets the standard high. Even when you look at the works that have been done by himself and the students that he has supervised, they go through a very, very rigorous process. And I want to appreciate, because we, as his mentees, will also take on the same virtues to extend them to our people that we mentor. He has strong emphasis on academic excellence. Whenever you would be at university and you tell any person that you are supervised by Ronnie McQuaid, then everyone would know you are a great person there then or in the making in the future. So we want to appreciate this, and it is actually evident wherever we are and in whatever we are doing, that also as his people who have been mentored by him, we are appreciated for academic excellence. Even when we are supervising, when we are teaching, we get feedback. I want just to give you an example. I hosted here a professor from Nottingham University, Professor Kenny Kamoche, who came to Makerere University, and in the evening, I took him out for a social event. While out there enjoying our food and a drink, a person walked away from where he was seated to approach me and spoke to Professor Kamoche that I am here to greet a great man, Sepe Wanyama, because he's the one who made me who I am. And Professor Kamoche stood up and gave me a hug in appreciation. And I said, all this comes from my mentor, somebody called Ronnie McQuaid at University of Stirling. I want to appreciate the humility and accessibility of Ron. It has already been mentioned. He's a humble man, he's easily approachable, he communicates well with clarity, and he does not, create boundaries. Regardless of who you are, he will listen to you and he will actually be attended to. He encourages independent thinking. He wants people whom he has shaped to stand on their own, to be able to drive the mantle and to move many steps ahead rather than being dependent. He wants you to stand strongly and be able to grow. He supports collaborative knowledge creation. With Ronnie, he would always encourage us to go out to the network, to collaborate, to build partnerships, attend workshops, speak to fellow PhD students, speak to staff, and that created a very, very good, strong foundation for collaboration, some of which actually we continue with them even in our spheres of life. What have I experienced through Ronnie McQuaid as my mentor? He supervised me and guided me on my PhD, and I completed it on time, and I appreciate that. We have done joint research and research collaboration, which has also led us actually to co-authorship of some papers. I highlight two of them, which are very, very, highly cited on the citation index. For example, we have a paper which we researched and published together talking about where you search determines what you find. Here we explored different bibliographic databases through systematic review to understand how different databases can shape the outcome. We have another paper on employee retention strategies and turnover. All these two papers, just as a sample, they are very competitive in terms of impacting academia through citations and in other people's research. My career and professional development has been supported and shaped by Ron, and where I am working, I can strongly say that I am appreciated by fellow staff, by my supervisors, and by my students whom I teach and supervise. I have been exposed to global academic networks. I have traveled to Germany, to Austria, to Rwanda, to different parts of the country, through international collaborations and also being identified as a key scholar in the area of management and human resource management to go and deliver, including areas that I would not actually have expected. But all this comes through recommendations, because people look out for your profile, they look out for what you have done and how you are shaped, and then they pick you up. Now, the humility that we are talking about is here again. In addition to the photo I shared, which showed me and Ron, this is now my PhD examination team, my external supervisor, internal supervisor, and the doctoral coordinator. You can imagine that Ron is missing in this picture. Why does he miss? Because he was the cameraman, he was the photographer. That is how humble he is, how easy he is, and how, he's ready to support his students in all spheres of life. These are sample publications that I've mentioned that we have published together with Ron, and all this, he played a very, very critical role in supporting me to come this far and to achieve. And he's always following up to today. He follows you up, challenging you, asking you, when are you writing more papers? Can you draft and we share? He opens up opportunities for you as a person. We are talking about, 7 years after PhD completion, but he continues to follow up, to mentor, to support his former students to see that actually they grow. I appreciate you, Ronnie, for that. What has been his impact on me as a mentee? The academic impact that I've benefited, number one, is that I've registered outstanding academic progression in my career. By the time I did my PhD, I was an assistant lecturer at Makerere University. One of the key requirements for you to become a full lecturer is a PhD. I achieved my PhD, and upon return, I was promoted to the position of lecturer. As you have seen through those publications and many others, achieving the required academic grounding, I was able to apply and I was promoted to the position of senior lecturer. I'm so far now remaining with about only 2 publications, and I'm praying, hoping that by the end of this year, I'll have achieved them. Then next year, I'll be applying for the position of associate professor. And this is the journey that I'm on, and Ronnie is in the background still supporting. I have strengthened my research capacity. I've led research on different platforms, academic research, industry-based research, doing research for ministries, international agencies like United Human Rights Commission for Refugees. I have been there since I completed PhD, being supported by Ron. I have improved my publication output, and it is continuing to grow. There is evidence that I have enhanced my academic confidence and rigor in terms of writing, in terms of research, in terms of teaching, in terms of collaborations. I'm a better person now. All this, ladies and gentlemen, shows that there is development as a consultant that have been both at national and international level. As I said, I've done work with different organizations in the UK, international development agencies like the UN, consulting me, giving me assignments that I execute and complete on time. All this because I was shaped and mentored by Ronnie McQuaid. Research knowledge and co-creation. How do we move forward, ladies and gentlemen? We learn that through mentorship, we are able to develop collaborative publications. Because I was mentored by great people, led by Ronnie McQuaid, I have developed collaborations that live today, some of which have not only benefited me, but have benefited my colleagues in the workplace. We are talking about interdisciplinary research engagement. We deal with different people because we have a niche in different aspects of life, in different skill sets, and therefore others also bring that unique skill set, and we put together and we collaborate, and therefore we do interdisciplinary research. We are talking about a contribution to policy relevant studies. I have been at the center of undertaking studies on social protection, indeed emulating the footsteps of Ronnie McQuaid. I have undertaken studies on older persons in the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, in a collaboration with Development Pathways UK, that comes here as a consultant to do a number of studies on aging, on people with disabilities, and how they can actually contribute to sustainable development. I've been at the center of assessing, special interest group grants, because they give grants to people with disabilities, they give grants to older persons. So we follow up to study to understand the impact that this grant is actually creating. And I have done that, and these studies have shaped policies. Integration of global and local knowledge systems. We bring, because of the collaborations and exposure, we are able to draw from, knowledge across boundaries, and that shapes our life. How can mentorship support sustainable development, ladies and gentlemen? We are realizing that mentorship is a catalyst for, number one, human capital development. A person who is well mentored is going to develop and be better, and the more we can have, the better for the country. That it strengthens, institutions, because institutions are made up of people, and when we have strong people who are well mentored, those institutions are going to be strong. We are going to have evidence-based policy making, because these are people who are well mentored, people who are grounded, people who are actually developed well. What are the contributions towards sustainable development, goals and objectives? We are realizing that indeed, through mentorship, we are providing education to people, and that communicates and feeds directly into SDG 4 on education. What about decent work, which is under SDG 8? Because we are talking about employment, employability, and therefore building capacities, developing people, we are going to have decent work that well-mentored people are actually undertaking. Then SDG 7, which is about partnerships. And from my presentation, I'm talking about partnerships that I have with the international universities, doing research, teaching, and collaborating in different areas of development. All this comes because of effective mentorship. If we mentor people, we are going to align that with sustainable development goals. And that is going to help our countries not only to grow, but actually to become sustainable. What about cross-border knowledge exchange? You know, when we mentor and we go into collaborations and partnerships, we are becoming, you know, collaborators at international level. And that aligns with what I've talked about in terms of partnerships. We are actually bridging the gap or the divide between the global north and the global south in research, because I'm seated in Uganda, Ronnie is seated in the UK, and we are collaborating. We bring different ideas, different knowledge. Strengthening academic mobility. I have been able to create programs through collaborations with some universities in Germany, here in Africa, like Rwanda, where even Turkey, where we have mobility programs that support our staff, but also support our students. For example, I had three students whom we sent to Turkey, and I followed up for supervision. And through that mobility program and capacity development, one student ended up actually winning a scholarship to do a PhD. And he's in his final year completing a PhD through such programs. We talk about enhancing inclusive research and publication. Now, all this comes because a person is well mentored, a person has been exposed to different programs, you know, partnerships and collaborations. What are the key lessons that we can take from mentorship? Ladies and gentlemen, that mentorship is transformative, not transactional. Ronnie did not benefit anything from me. I never paid anything, but he dedicatedly provided a service with a commitment, you know, with that focus. And here I am benefiting from his efforts. So let's go out there and support people without expecting anything. That is what's going to transform our world, our economies, without, you know, remaining behind. That academic excellence is built through collaboration. You cannot sit alone in your study room, in your office, in your university, and yearn to become excellent in the field of academia. It is only when we develop excellent collaborations that we can become better. Sustainable development requires knowledge sharing. How shall we actually become sustainable when we keep the knowledge that we have, the skills that we have to ourselves within our boundaries? We need to share with the people across boundaries, wherever they are. Let us support them, let us mentor them, let us see how we can work together to develop our countries and our global economy. Humility strengthens scholarly leadership. We have already alluded to Ronnie's focus and his humble and outgoing character. That is what is required of us as mentors. And we borrow from him as his mentees, we learn from him, and we extend the same virtues to those ones that we mentor. Conclusively, ladies and gentlemen, I want once again to affirm that Professor Ronnie McQuaid has actually exemplified mentorship, and he has done so through intellectual leadership. He has led different programs, as we have already seen from the presentations that have been taking place this morning. He has been at the center of leading several programs that have contributed to development and therefore sustainable development. Human development, many people benefiting from him. Global scholarly engagement. My sister alluded to the number of publications and engagements, conferences, workshops that Ronnie has attended, that he has chaired, that he has overseen, that he has organized, including this particular one, which actually arises out of his efforts. In doing this, therefore, we see that his influence extends beyond just academia. but also into policy and development practice, not only in his country, but across countries, not only on his continent, but across continents and the globe at large. Therefore, we emphasize that mentorship remains a powerful tool for sustainable development beyond borders. If many people that out there can borrow a leaf from Ron and my brother John that we are paying tribute to today, the globe will actually become better and it will become sustainable. In this regard, therefore, my final tribute to Ron and to all of us to note is indeed that true mentorship is measured not only by what we actually see and what we can think, but by the scholars it produces and the borders it transcends. Let us not only focus on who we are when we are not impacting others, but let us impact beyond those ones that we live with. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate you for giving me this opportunity to share with you, more so in the presence of my senior, my mentor. In Africa, where I live, we get only the opportunity to speak about people who have impacted us when they have died. But I'm happy that I'm speaking about Ron when he's alive, when he's listening, to appreciate the transformative life that he has given to me and that I also continue to bring to other people. Thank you very much.
Dr. Wanyama, I really don't know what to say. I can tell you, I have never, ever in my entire life heard, this is a talk, really, I'm seriously telling you, this is a talk in a graduation ceremony, like the one done by Professor, one of our founder also. I will send it to you too. This is unbelievable. I can't believe I was sitting here listening. All I have in mind, I'm pretty sure any academic would love to see that final statement you made. I mean, this is, I think, Ron, you should be very proud of what you have done. I visited Makerere University, Ron. It's the top university in Uganda, top in Africa. Our top man in Africa is from your school, by the way, Professor Joseph Natai. Top academics from Makerere University. But you gave us a big lecture today, Professor Wanyama, and I think this is unbelievable, to be honest. And I think not just for Ron, I mean, but what you said is unbelievable. It's really unbelievable because you articulated every single thing. I never thought will be the talk, but I will kindly encourage you, if you can write this, like we have in the journal something called editorial viewpoints. So I'm pretty sure Professor Archie can help you with that one. Write it the same manner you did. We don't need research. We don't need any literature review. We want you to write this in a way. Archie is very good. She will help you on this one. So it will be in that special issue. And also the 2 remaining articles you said for you to become associate professor. Consider get one in these journals, particularly the journal Ron founded. So I wish you all the best, but I think we will definitely see you, talk to you. And we have a lot of strong team from Uganda. Really, thank you very much. I know many people will see that we are exceeding our time. But if you remember, just to remind everyone, myself included, this was planned to be a conference entire day for Ron and John. But then when we realized they will not be able to, yes, Ron, yeah, go ahead, Ron. Oh, Ron, go ahead.
Sorry. Can I just say, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, of course, this is about you, Ron. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just said to Superior, thank you very much for those very, very kind words. But as always, it was your hard work, it was your drive, it was your intellectual ability that I only helped you to develop those a bit, and it was your efforts, your willingness to cooperate with other people. That is why you had the success that you did. And I only played a small part in helping you to achieve the success. But at the end of the day, you're the one who did who achieved it. And also, I should say that I learned an awful lot, both from you and from my other PhD students. I get huge benefits from my PhD students. It's not knowledge exchange. It's not knowledge transfer. It is knowledge exchange. You exchange your knowledge to me, I exchange my knowledge to you. And so I gain huge amounts from from your PhD and from other PhDs. And thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for your kind words. And I would say the same for Alam, for the WASAD. My role is tiny. Your drive, your ability, your willingness to work with others, that is why it's been a success. John and my role is only tiny. And so thank you all for the kind words, but also the real congratulations should be going to you, Superior, to you, Alam. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Ron.
you.
I mean, as I said, this was supposed to be really a long day. Many people wanted to contribute, but I need to quickly move. Thank you, both of you, Joanna and Ron. I want to go to Jux Anochi, who is current PhD student of John Adams. He's going to talk to us about leadership drivers of digital transformation success, insight from UK-based senior executive navigating organization and in technological change. So we will give you the floor, but I really hope you accept my apology for us exceeding the time. But this was supposed to be a long day conference, but we're trying to move quickly now. So, Jux, can I see you? So I can. Yes, I can see you here. So, Jux, let me just make sure I can give you the floor to speak. Where is it? So you are a co-host now, Jux. You can now share your slide and go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Can you all hear me?
Yes, and we see you. Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. Look, thank you for having me. And what can I say that that adds to what my seniors like yourself, Professor Alam, Dr. Saperi, and the rest have said. It's great to be here, but I will jump into it and try to be quick. This presentation, as you can see on the screen, it introduces my doctoral research, which is in progress. It's at Edinburgh Business School, Henriette Watt, and is supervised by the able Professor John Adams, who has been very instrumental for me up to this point, and I don't doubt that he will be as I get on with my PhD all the way to Viva. I'll just take 1 minute to say something about him. He's really helped me in many ways. One way that sticks with me is he's challenged to ground every claim I brought forward. I recall when I started with my proposal, it was full of claims and assertions. He was able to coach me to help me understand that nothing is certain until it's proven. You know, that rigor you bring to academic efforts, it really helped me to bring that mindset. And even though I learned it through my various coursework, it took his intervention to help me understand what it truly means when you're doing your research. And that mindset is shaping every part of my research and will shape the rigor behind everything I'm doing and the rigor behind everything you see on the screen. Now, back to the research. The idea is that it makes the case that there is a gap between digital transformation investment in organizations and what the investment is intended to achieve, the outcome. And the idea is that this is very much a leadership problem. And we want to focus on the executive level UK evidence needed to understand whether it exists or not. So before I jump into it, let me start with a few questions. Now, in most companies, most firms, most enterprises, you know, what is one of the most expensive organizational challenges that they face? And why has it remained so poorly understood? Every organization we've worked in, especially for-profit organizations, they have directed significant investment into digital transformation. These days it's called AI transformation, but most of it has not converted into the outcomes it was meant to produce. I won't bore you with research done in industry on the gap between the investment and the outcome, but it's littered all over the place. And in 20 years of working in this field, there have been new methods, new methodologies, new technologies, new tools, new processes, but the gap still remains. The academic field has also contributed to it. They've studied this problem, but most of the evidence comes from surveys. They concentrate in the US, but the thing that struck me was that they rarely reach the person who actually owns the outcome. So people like me are known as agents. We're the ones who execute. We're the ones who drive, who manage, who oversee. We don't necessarily own the outcome. The people who own the outcomes are people they will call the principal in academic literature. So the principals enable the agents to manage and run it, but effectively the principals own it. And they're the people that my research is focusing on, the senior executive. And this research is hoping to get to sort of at least peek under the hood and understand the impact these principals, these senior executives have. I'm Chuks Anochie, and for 20 years, I have worked in organizations helping them in their various attempts to be more competitive in the digital age and close that gap that's known as the transformation value gap. So whether it's been building operating models, whether it's been applying mechanics like Lean and Six Sigma process improvement, scaled agile for those who may know it, AI, governance or delivery, or deploying the right technology from robotic process automation, agentic AI platforms. The idea is we want to extract that value and close the gap. But the overarching challenge of turning that money spent on technology into real business result has still remained through every era, through every situation. And the belief is that the leadership problem sitting underneath it isn't clear. This is what the research will hopefully uncover. So for my research, there is a central question. Which leadership behaviors, decisions, which practices decide whether a transformation actually closes the gap between what was invested and what was intended to achieve? I break this down into 4 different parts. We have leadership behaviors, which looks at the behaviors that move change forward, how executives decide and keep strategy and technology aligned. That's number 2, decisions and alignment. Then we look at how they handle resistance, because resistance always happens. It's a heart and minds dynamic. So how do they handle resistance and culture, shift the culture towards the right ways of working that enable that technology to really shine, or enable the change, the operating structures that they've changed to really, really work. And then lastly, we look at the conditions that make an organization ready. So before the change comes, how have they prepared themselves? Everything else in the study serves these 4 areas. So this one's quite interesting, because for this one, I want to start with a question. Where is the money actually going? If the problem is well documented, why is the evidence still missing? What's one question, if answered, changes how organizations lead transformation? As you can see on the left-hand side, we have a number, 124 leadership and digital transformation studies have been reviewed. On the left, we have a very somber number that says 79% of field studies rely on surveys and structural equation designs. So there is a bit of a gap here, both in the research done on it, and now that the industry has evolved to focus more on AI, that gap is now known as the AI value gap. It's not just an academic idea. Industry has long named it before AI became a thing. Practices like KPMG, the CIO Forum, Deloitte, NEDRIL have called it different names. The academic literature actually backs it up as well. The conversion between the investment and the outcome, the failure rates, which is high, exist, but the evidence on senior executives is thin, as I mentioned earlier. So this research looks at a very UK-specific picture to understand exactly what those senior executives, those principals contribute. Now, this is where it starts to connect with the theme of the conference. Where does human intelligence sit in a world increasingly run by artificial systems and artificial intelligence? So the conference talks about artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So let's take a moment to picture the flow. We have technology and AI investment going in one side on the left. And then on the right-hand side, we have the outcome and the value coming out. Now, the middle part is where it all converts. Senior executive leadership is that applied human intelligence at that conversion point that makes the difference. Machines don't decide what to commit to. Technology does not decide how to sequence it. Tools don't decide how to govern it. People do. And the people who deliver it are important. The people who use it are important. But the research exists on those people. Where the research doesn't exist is on the people who own the outcomes. And my framework contributes to that particular side, contributing more to the human side of the equation. I will move on to the next. So with this slide, what we're really talking about is which established bodies of knowledge in academic literature actually explain what executives do under transformation. I didn't invent this theory from scratch. It's the way through which I understand the leadership behavior, and I do it through 4 established lenses. On the left-hand side, we have transformational leadership, which explains things like the vision and the commitment brought to a change. Then we have how good leaders flex their style to the moment and are adaptive. This is situational and adaptive leadership. And then we look at it from an organizational perspective. How do they sense change? How do they seize the moment? How do they reconfigure themselves to be able to adapt? That's where dynamic capabilities comes in. And we all are very familiar with Kotter, which gives us a very staged way of managing change and the resistance that comes with it. Together, they help me to interpret what executives actually do and how they lead and own that transformation and change. Now, those 4 lenses are applied to 3 pillars to help us understand how to organize the leadership problem so it becomes something we can actually access. The study organizes them in these 3 pillars, the first being leadership and strategic agility, looking at the styles and decisions that drive change forward. The second is looking at organizational dynamics and change readiness, so culture, structure that either supports that change or blocks it. The third then looks at technology integration and governance, looking at a practical way of selecting the technology, scaling it, governing it, decommissioning it, and so on and so forth. Every research question maps to one or more of these 3. So I understand what to do in literature, I understand where to go, and I've gathered it, but how do I produce evidence that is grounded in what these executives actually experience? This is where the research design comes in. It is entirely qualitative because the breadth and depth of their insights is best captured in a qualitative manner, and it runs in 3 phases. Phase 1 is where we conduct in-depth interviews with 15 to 20 senior executives, and this is where we generate the themes and the patterns from what they say and what they tell us. Then in phase 2, we take those teams and turn them into a set of questions for a wider pool of about 80 to 100 executives through a survey to test breadth. And there is an optional phase 3 for anyone who opts in from phase 2, where we go back and we stress test, validate, and refine the framework and the themes that have come out of it. It's all very pragmatic, so it doesn't necessarily have to stick to one area. And it's a multiple case study because we're looking at a lot of senior executives. But the idea here is to triangulate all that rich data and to, at the end of it, come up with a leadership assessment tool that helps emerging leaders to be able to understand their leadership style, their leadership practices and behaviors with respect to change, specifically digital technology-led change. So as of right now, I'll give you an honest status check. The research, and I want to be precise on where it stands, the research design is complete. As you've seen, the literature review is done for all intents and purposes. We are in the middle of phase 1 field work, gathering, inviting participants and conducting interviews. So I have no findings to report yet, and I will not pretend otherwise, but this is sort of where we are. What all of this is building to us is on the right-hand side. It's going to be an empirically grounded leadership assessment framework made specifically for UK senior executives, especially emerging leaders. And the idea here is it matters beyond the thesis, because and this is one of the reasons why I was excited about the conference. When we think about what the conference is talking about, you know, sustainability and the theme of artificial versus human intelligence, the conference treats human capital as a driver of knowledge and growth. And that's exactly where the study sits. It gives a practical way to assess and build leadership capabilities in emerging leaders. It connects to the SDG goals on decent work and on industry and innovation, because it is looking within that realm. And one way to sort of look at it is that it's a human intelligent mechanism for governing transformation at a particular level, that executive level. So that's what we're hoping to give back with this. And that's sort of how it connects with the goals of the conference. I'm ready to answer any questions if anyone has any, but like I mentioned, we're at the stage we are. So if anyone in the room has the experience this research needs, we're more than happy to have a conversation. A referral to the right person is also just as valuable as taking part yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Chucks. And let me start by, first of all, well done. I really like this research, and I would be very happy. Consider me as your second supervisor if you like to provide any advice. I really like the topic, really. This is a very interesting topic. Let me tell you one thing, because you said John has so far, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you about the next part you're going to have from John. John is excellent. I call him a complete finisher. When it comes to complete and submit, he's the best. I can tell you this now. You have experience so far. But the remaining, where I have seen students in without mentioning the university, sitting 7 years, not finishing. I was so annoyed. I said, what have you been? He said, I write. He didn't come back to me. But John is this is what I learned from John. I can tell you now. You need to finish it. John will finish it with you. Will finish it successfully, completely. And let me just tell one thing, because we're going to go to a third bill. Or let me make this comment after the second one. We're going to move to, but thank you, well done research. Very good piece. And I think it is, and of course, we will work very closely with you on getting this published, definitely. Now, I want to go to Egypt, and I wouldn't tell, I will let her tell by her own voice. This is very interesting. But before I introduce her, I want to tell you about the British University in Egypt. Before John went and spent several years as the Dean of the Faculty of Economics in British University in Egypt, I personally, although I have many friends from Egypt, Professor, Dean, and so on, I didn't have any relationship with this university. I know it. I heard about it when Prince Charles went to Egypt and so on. Well, high quality. Yeah. But because of John, our relationship with the university, the researchers, even I met them here in London, fantastic. John encouraged them. He helped them to get into the journal. Many of them published. Top professors from this university, really very good university, one of the top actually in Egypt. Actually, in the ranking is one of the top. So Dr. May is the assistant professor at the British University in Egypt. Her topic is excellent, really, May. Very, very good topic, by the way, really, really, in the work we do in higher education. But I would love if you start by telling us, where do you know John and where do you know, I think, because you don't know Ronnie, you know John. Where do you know John and how did you come to know John? Because I asked her that question, were you an ex-student of John? She said no. So, so what is your relationship with John Adams?
Thank you very much, Professor Alem, and thank you for having me today. And yes, I know it was a bit sort of a shock. Yes, unfortunately, I was not one of his students. And as a matter of fact, it's very unfortunate for me that I have not met him in person. And at the start of the session, I was thinking to myself, maybe I'm like the odd one out here. But then with time, I started to think, as a matter of fact, I'm bringing in the reputation that Professor John has left behind in Egypt, because in spite of the fact that I've joined after he left, I've only heard brilliant stuff about Professor John. And what was really striking and what was really interesting is that it's across the faculty, across all three departments. So it's not only in the economics department, but it's in the economics department and the political science, as well as the business administration. The reputation that he's left behind on how not only knowledgeable and capable, but also how humble. And I've heard this quite a number of times throughout the day today in the session. And I'm coming from there, not having met him in person. But yes, I've heard this so many times, how humble he is with everyone, not only staff and colleague, but also with students, how he is genuinely interested in people, genuinely interested even in students. And I've actually witnessed that firsthand now that we've sort of had a couple of messages in our chat. So it's maybe I'm the odd one out who did not know him in person, but I'm bringing with me the appreciation and the acknowledgement and the gratitude from each and everyone who knew Professor John from the British University in Egypt across the entire three departments.
Excellent. So go ahead with your presentation, Dr. May.
Sure.
I think we allowed you to share, right? Yes, you're allowed to share.
Yes. Okay, hold on, just okay. Can you see it now, hopefully?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, excellent. Just make it bigger and in the presentation mode and go ahead.
Sure. Well, first of all, brilliant. Thank you very much for having me today. I was very, very pleased, and sorry it was a short notice for bringing me in. So, so I really, really appreciate that. So my topic today is about this power that algorithms play in higher education and how we can safeguard students' intellectual agency and student agency. It came to me as an important issue, particularly, let me just move on from there, particularly coming from the international political economy background, where we start to talk about a shift from relational power to structural power, and how structural power there, you know, according to Susan Strange, there are different structures that we talk about. I'll try to be as quick as I can. Where we talk in the political economy on the security structure, this provision of physical security and safety, etc. And then we talk about the production structure, this whole idea or this whole arrangement that determines what is being produced, by whom, for whom, and on what terms. We also talk about the finance structure and the credit, the idea of credit creation, who is buying credit and how is it sold, etc. But then there's also this very underdeveloped within this theoretical framework, there is the knowledge structure as well. It's quite underdeveloped in spite of the fact that I think now it's one of the most important structures that we really need to think about. It's the structure that discusses the norms and the rules that govern how knowledge is discovered, is created, is stored, is communicated, etc. And when we talk about this global structure, the knowledge structure, we talk about knowledge regulation, this idea of knowledge creation, dissemination, and the use of knowledge, etc. But we also talk about knowledge legitimation. It's this idea of defining what counts as the truth, what is the truth, and who is the expert on what the truth is. Sorry, I should have put that forward. So coming from this background and being very interested in the knowledge structure, I'm very interested in understanding how AI is actually changing and redefining the knowledge structure in the global economy and the power within it. Having said that, it's also very important to remember that this is not only an academic sort of topic, and it's not only important academically, but it's also fundamental for the success of UN SDGs. So when we talk, for example, about quality education, and we think about how the whole idea of laziness, metacognitive laziness that starts to occur with students who start to offload some of their critical work and their critical skills to AI, we are really seeing a challenge towards quality education. We also see a change in the labor market, and we see a change in the skills needed for the labor market and how it's being impacted by the existence of AI in higher education. So it's definitely impacting decent work and economic growth, or SDG 8. When we think about reducing inequality, we also need to think about how there is a major gap between the global north and the global south. We need to think about how, not only as in global north and global south, but also about how not only the accessibility of AI, but how AI is being used in different cultural contexts and different socioeconomic contexts as well. Let alone, we also need to think about climate action and the amount of e-waste and the amount of massive energy consumption that occur with the use of AI. So it's a very important topic when you think about it. So student agency, coming from, being an academic myself and dealing with students and seeing regularly the impact of AI and the use of algorithmic power in education and in assessments, etc., we can see that student agency is being affected. And when we say student agency, we're mainly not looking at something that is fixed. It's not a fixed sort of trait in students. It's more like a dynamic quality, something that they work on throughout their educational life in the higher education. And it's more about the quality of self-reflection and the intentional action and interaction with the environment they live in. And accordingly, we can see that AI is impacting student agency, intellectual agency, and student agency in the higher education in 4 different ways. First of all, the epistemic sort of challenge, and that's very relevant to what I was saying before. It's once we're starting to get in this belief that the truth comes from the large data sets, or from this large data that AI is holding. It's becoming more important than the truth that comes from the human reasoning. And we start to see that knowledge is commodified, it's becoming more and more important to be extracted and optimized rather than to come from situational experiences by human beings. And this is starting to be part of how students see AI and how it's actually helping them throughout their education. We also see, as I was mentioned earlier, this offloading or the cognitive challenge that is starting to be imposed. So instead of actually using AI and generative AI tools to support and help, it's more, there is the risk of more of offloading the critical aspects, the creational aspects, etc., the problem-solving aspects to AI, and to which would lead to a decline in independent sort of judgments by the students. Let alone the structure agency or the intellectual challenge that we're starting to see, which also I think I've been struggling with it myself, seeing, you know, when we start to move towards Turnitin sort of reports, for example, about how AI has been used, and we start to have, I myself had a lot of false positives, and as well as false negatives, to be fair. But then how we are starting to move within the institutions, the higher educational institutions, to be more relying on AI as well, and this structural agency sort of dynamics between the intellectuals of the AI as well as the student. And then finally, we have the equity or the positioning challenge. And this is, as I was saying before, this is how different students use AI, and this idea that how to actually benefit from these algorithmic systems. And there is evidence that students from different backgrounds are actually benefiting from algorithmic powers differently. So students, for example, from a higher cultural and social capital are more likely to use it more as a thinking partner. More, they would be able to reflect on the work that they get from AI. Unlike, you know, others who come from maybe a lower or under-reserved sort of students, they may push a bit forward and take, you know, everything on face value. So there are different kinds of challenges that student agency is now really facing when it comes to the use of AI in higher education. So what is this study all about, or what did I want to see? I wanted to really explore how AI governance is actually trying to safeguard students' intellectual agency in higher education. Or, as a matter of fact, how guidelines and how policies, that's what I was really hoping to see, is how they actually mediate and how they balance between student agency vis-a-vis algorithmic powers within higher education environment, particularly with this strong push towards the use of AI in higher education. To be able to do that, I decided to sort of look at Egypt as my case study. And there are several reasons why Egypt serves as a very interesting case study when it comes to such guidelines. First of all, there is a clear gap in the literature between the North and the South, or this North-South, the global North and global South. A lot of studies have been conducted on the global North, but not a lot on the global South. And having said that, Egypt would be is a very interesting case study, because it already has, it's one of the most advanced and most developed in the global South that has an existing structure to govern the use of AI in the higher education, to govern AI in general, as a matter of fact, but then in the higher education as well, specifically. So there is this geographical imbalance that is being addressed by an existing structure in Egypt, and it's very important, and it creates a very important relevance and significance for both the political economy, where I come from, as well as for SDGs and meeting SDGs, especially in the global South. So how am I looking to, let me put these down, to conduct, or because it's a work in progress, I am currently conducting the research. The methodology is a discourse analysis. So I'm actually conducting a discourse analysis on the official documents and guidelines that govern AI in the higher education in Egypt. There are 4 main guidelines that I'm looking at the moment. So we've got the strategic guide to Egypt's national AI governance. That's more like the overall macro level sort of text that is discussing the governance of AI in Egypt. And then we have the guiding manual for AI use in higher education and scientific research. This is more like the sectoral one. It's a sectoral guideline for the specific use in higher education. We have the one on Gen AI guideline that's specifically to address the risks that come from generative AI tools. And then finally, the responsible use of AI, the ethical aspects of it. So I'm looking at all 4 to try to figure out through a textual as well as discursive understanding of these guidelines to see how Egypt is trying to mitigate any of these risks on the student agency in higher education. So basically what I'm doing when we talk about critical discourse analysis, I'm looking at the actual wordings that are used, and that's the textual analysis. I'm looking at the words, the linguistic choices that are being used, and how words are used in the guidelines to sort of promote specific understanding of what student agency is, and the relationship between the student and AI. This is on the textual level. And then as well on the discursive level on how to interrogate what is actually trying to be solved here. How the policy is being produced, what it's trying to address for the target audience. I'm still conducting, I've gone through all 3 guidelines, and some findings are there, some are still sort of expected. I'm still working on them. When we talk about the strategic guide to Egypt's national AI governance, that's the overall overarching umbrella of AI and AI governance. First of all, we can see there is a kind of a redefining of what agency a student agency is, from a student agency to a human AI partnership. We're starting to see that agency includes, student agency or agency in general includes the human being as well as AI. There is by all means a recognition of this offloading possibility, this possibility of people starting, because this is not specifically for higher education, this possibility of offloading, which would lead to risks of, I wouldn't say depletion, but a decline in abilities and skills. The idea of redefinition of authority, and this is very linked to digital sovereignty. So this is where the government comes in. Where is authority? Does authority lie with the human being or with AI? And this is where Egypt is trying to sort of aim for digital sovereignty through explaining that it's an enabler. It's an enabling government, a government that is trying to allow for AI use. However, at the same time, it's governing AI and allowing for agency to remain largely with human being. Similar sort of findings can be seen in the Responsible AI Charter. Again, the recognition of the challenge and the safeguard. There's some safeguarding attempts to stay and to remain and to have agency with the human being. So there is an acknowledgement of this erosion of skills. But then we are talking about mindful adoption, or agency in the sense of mindful adoption, mindful engagement with AI. So again, there is, and this is one of the findings that we will see at the very end, throughout all four guidelines, we will also always see this tension between promoting the use of AI alongside the attempt to safeguard agency. So agency now is more redefined, and it includes the adoption of AI. And there is, as I said, this hybrid role of government, the government as an enabler for efficiency, for use of AI, for more productivity. However, at the same time, it's still a guardian. It is still trying to avoid what is called in many sources data colonialism. So to remain in charge and to be in the guardian of human agency. This is one of the very important guidelines that I'm looking at. It's actually the operational one that comes from the Supreme Council for Universities. And it's a manual for AI use in higher education and scientific research specifically. And again, we can see this ongoing redefinition of agency as human AI partnership, this partnership between the human and AI. So the importance of AI is always there, and it's more of a collaborative relationship. However, there are clearer attempts, there are clearer ways of trying to safeguard human agency by imposing and pushing for more and more collaboration, and clearly explaining or acknowledging that it can lead to erosion of human skills, and that this needs to be mitigated by a clear collaboration and clear guidelines and clear rules to avoid such offloading, cognitive offloading, metacognitive offloading. So again, the manual is clearly trying to find this balance between the efficiency gained from AI and the data that comes from AI, alongside the human authorship, where the human stays in control. But then again, in this manual, the tension between promoting AI and safeguarding human agency and student agency, the tension becomes very visible and very clear. Particularly with, as I was saying at the very start, with this idea that the expert and who's the expert in the truth is becoming more towards data sets rather than the human being. And then finally, this is one of the most important, and the one that I need to sort of really give more attention to, I believe, is the National Generative AI Guidelines for the use of generative AI. And it's really providing more understanding of the challenges. And it's the guideline that gives the most priority to human agency and to the importance of safeguarding human agency. But then again, agency through engagement. So again, we can see the tension there. So it's, again, because it's a generative AI guideline. There is a lot more shift towards what is called the final human determination, or the final control should be in the hands of the human, where the epistemic authority should remain ethically and legally in the hands of the human being. Again, it's not an higher education guideline. It's a guideline it's a national sort of guideline. It really sees the work of the human being as an intellectual labor, and it encourages the sort of growing the skill of actually evaluating and testing and validating the information that human beings get from AI in order to avoid any erosion of human skills. So again, because I'm still in the process of actually doing the discourse analysis, the conclusion that I can come with now, and I've got the question marks because not all of them are actually fully sort of developed. Clearly, the idea of agency or student agency has been redefined towards an AI human sort of agency where there needs to be a collaboration. There's nothing of human agency on its own. So we need to acknowledge and redefine what we mean with student agency. There is by all means risk acknowledgement, so the acknowledgement is there. So the overall arching umbrella of AI governance in Egypt, alongside the other guidelines, they all acknowledge the risks and are working on mitigating the risks that come towards the agency of the human being when dealing with AI. It can be seen that the Egyptian case, where the full framework with the number of frameworks that, with the number of guidelines that come within it, is more of a case of resistance to data colonialism. There is a huge and clear attempt of putting these guidelines and the role of the government as a guardian, where it is trying to avoid any kind of data colonialism that happens between the global north and the global south. There is by all means a clear, continuous, persistent tension in all four guidelines between AI and technological advancement and the preservation of human authority and agency. There is a growing tension. Yes, there is an acknowledgement of the risks. Yes, there is an aim of preserving agency and authority, etc. However, the tension is still clear. And with more discourse analysis and content analysis, these kinds of tensions become very clear or clearer in these guidelines. So in a nutshell, safeguarding students' agency in higher education is still a work in progress in Egypt. Having said that, I think Egypt is a case study that has developed a clear guidelines, and actually some of these guidelines, and that's one of the things that I'm thinking of doing later on, some guidelines have actually different versions as well. So there are different versions, so they are updating these guidelines as time passes. So it is a work in progress. However, it's still there, it is acknowledged, it is being mediated, and a lot of work has been done to preserve and safeguard student agency in higher education in Egypt. So I think there's a lot to learn from it, and it's addressing the gap of the global south, global north quite interestingly. Thank you all very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. Fantastic, and we look forward. I hope you, once you complete it, or in the nearest future, we'll be very happy to look at the paper and to consider publishing it. Fantastic work. Thank you very much for your contribution, and our best wishes to all your colleagues from the British University. It's very fantastic. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to the last. Thank you, Mbaye. Thank you very much. We want to go to Guyana. I'm very excited to go to see the Caribbean. But before that, we have a very quick talk from Ali Mutwalli, who is also one of John Adams' students, because I think he needs to leave. We understand on this online conference, normally the time zone is very, very tough. So Ali, yes, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks for organizing this event. It's an honor being here. It's a pleasure, of course, to celebrate my professor, John Adams. And I'm just gonna be saying a few words about the impact he had on me as a student at the BUE. Now, I joined the British University in Egypt as an economics student in 2013. By then, Professor Adams had already taken on the leadership of the economics department. I was not the obvious academic success story. Like many students, I had considerable ups and downs, and my research assignments could be very good, but my written examinations told a rather different story. There were C's, D's, and on occasion, the letter no student is particularly proud to discuss in a formal speech. Professor Adams never ignored those difficulties, and he never lowered the standard expected of me. But importantly, he did not reduce me to my weakest result. He saw the difference between a student who lacked ability and a student who had not yet developed sufficient consistency, focus, and discipline. He left his door open. He allowed me to ask questions, and he was willing to endorse me when he believed I had earned that endorsement. He reminded me that determination mattered, but that determination without focus was rarely enough. For the first time, I encountered the qualities that I would later associate with the pinnacle of academic leadership: fairness without performance, rigor without arrogance, and a genuine commitment to developing a person's ability rather than merely judging their present condition. Professor Adams taught me several courses. He taught me research methods, financial economics, project evaluation. But the most important lesson running through all was that a serious economist must learn to ask better questions. During departmental seminars, I remember, and during even student presentations, he could challenge an argument without diminishing the person making it. He did not embarrass people to demonstrate his knowledge. And at the same time, he did not allow a weak argument to pass simply because challenging it might be uncomfortable. He also demonstrated that good economists must be prepared to change their minds when confronted with better evidence. And intellectual confidence and intellectual humility were not opposites in his teachings, they were complements. You could hold a position strongly, but you had to know why you held it. You had to test it against the evidence. And when the evidence changed, you had to have the honesty to reconsider your conclusion. And that principle has stayed with me throughout my professional career. Now, before the final year began, Professor Adams agreed to supervise my dissertation, and that decision meant more to me than he may have realized. It communicated that my early difficulties did not have to determine the limits of what I could eventually produce. And we began working during the summer break. And by the end of the first semester, we had completed most of the dissertation, and that progress was possible because he did not treat supervision as an occasional administrative responsibility. He was available, he was engaged, he was very attentive to detail. I remember while discussing an early part of my research, he drew my attention to something that has influenced how I have approached almost every research project since. I had spent considerable effort explaining the subject and demonstrating the technical work, but not enough time explaining why the question mattered. He encouraged me to see research not as an exercise in proving that I could use a method, but as a contribution to an ongoing conversation. What is the gap in our understanding? Why does this question deserve to be asked? What would we understand differently if the research were successful? And those questions now come before the methodology whenever I begin a project. The dissertation, of course, received the second highest mark, only 1 point below the highest. And his responsibility was not to secure a particular ranking. It was to help me produce work of the highest quality I was capable of producing, and then allow that work to be judged fairly. And I eventually graduated with upper second class honors and produced what Professor Adams described as one of the strongest dissertations. But I still remember him telling me that I had improved notably and that people across the department had recognized that improvement. There is an important difference, if I may, between rescuing a student from difficulty and helping that student develop the capacity to overcome it. Professor Adams did the latter. Our relationship did not end when the dissertation was submitted. That undergraduate project developed into our first published paper, identifying currency crisis indicators, the case of Egypt. We later published testing for the Marshall Learner condition in Egypt, which is an empirical analysis. And the idea came actually while discussing the dissertation in one of our meetings. And most recently, we co-authored a book chapter examining the impact of currency crisis and macro developments on the financial performance of Egyptian companies. Now, the titles and publication details matter academically, but for me, they represent something even more significant: the journey from student to research collaborator. There is a particular form of trust involved when a professor who once corrected a student's early work later places his own name alongside that student's name as a co-author. Professor Adams did not simply help me complete a dissertation. He allowed that first project to become the foundation of a continuing body of research. Through his attention to every argument, every result, and every word, he established a standard of dedication that I still try to follow. And his wider academic career reflects the same commitment. His work has connected economic development, sustainability, investment promotion, and research education across Britain and Egypt and China and several African countries. And he has written and taught about research methods, trained professionals involved in attracting and evaluating investment. He supervised developing researchers and contributed to academic institutions across national and cultural boundaries. But titles and publications alone cannot explain why many years after his departure from the Department of Economics in the BUE, members of staff, they still refer to him as a model of what a head of department should be. So he made leadership visible. He was accessible when students needed guidance and present when staff needed support. When a difficult judgment had to be made, people trusted him to listen carefully and detach evidence from assumption. So as an academic working in Egypt, largely with colleagues and students for whom English was not their first language, Professor Adams also had to lead across differences in language, culture, and institutional expectations. He made people feel heard while maintaining clarity about what was required, and he developed a strong team and worked to protect the quality of the education delivered by the department. Now, today I wanted to say that for me this is of course a pleasure to be with him. You know, after 7 years or 8 years of graduating, I work as an economist now. I have advised multinational companies on how economic and political developments impact their operations across the Middle East and North Africa. And my work has involved research, forecasting, and public economic commentary. And when I assessed the impact of currency movement on a business and examine whether the evidence supports a prevailing economic narrative, I continue to use habits that Professor Adams helped establish. You know, so Professor John, thank you for seeing more in me than my most difficult academic results. And thank you for not lowering the bar, but for helping me understand how to reach it. Thank you for opening your door, for reading every word, for asking the difficult questions, and for recognizing it when it was real. Thank you for treating me first as a student worthy of guidance, and later as a researcher worthy of collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali, and also as a friend. Thank you very much for all those nice words. And yes, I could see when you were in year one undergraduate that there's a lot of potential, but it had to be forced out of you, and you did it. And now, working in London, an excellent job, and an excellent academic economist and applied economist. Ali's doing a lot of good work in applied economics. It's fantastic. This is the biggest benefit of being a teacher, seeing how your own students have developed. And that's what makes it all worthwhile. So thank you, Ali. And the book that Ali's talking about was only published January 2026. So we're still working together.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Ali.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And John, this is Ali. This is unbelievable. These stories, I'm really glad they are recorded. This is the best testimony. But John, also you remember when May also was mentioned. How do you feel you left the British University a long time ago, and this legacy? Yes, Ali, what was saying after you left, people still couldn't see any other way to describe what is the head of department looks like. What May was saying. She was, unfortunately, she said I wasn't supervised by him. How do you feel about this, John? You left Egypt a long time ago, and your legacy is still there.
Yeah, well, not that long ago, 8 years ago, only 8 years ago, I worked for the BUE just over 8 years, and the reason we came back to Scotland is because grandchildren. So we had to come back. But I've been back to the BUE twice in that time for a holiday and meeting the staff. So, and I'll definitely go back once the current global problem hopefully gets resolved. So,
excellent, John. Well, this is
wonderful experience. Egypt was
very
fantastic.
pleased, John,
I
to
love
hear
Egypt
this one, really.
and the people.
Excellent, John. So thank you very much, Ali. And we're going to go now to Gwen, to Dr. Pradeep Bolans. I think you finished your PhD last year, from what I gathered. And she worked at the government for the Ministry of Natural Resources. I think this will make fantastic contribution. I made you co-host, so you can go ahead, Dr. Pradeep.
Thank you very much, Professor, and thanks for admitting my participation at last minute as well. I would just like to start off by saying that I believe among the group of us here today, I am Professor Adams's most recent graduating student from the Doctorate in Business Administration program, having graduated just 2 weeks ago, 2 Mondays ago, actually. And the journey has been one that has been tremendously fulfilling, but only possible because of the expert guidance and kindness of Professor John Adams. And if I can just say a few words about Professor Adams before I share my slides and talk a bit about the thesis which I concluded as part of my studies. I started off in 2021, in the earlier part of 2022, and at that time, I wasn't quite sure exactly how I should take my research and how I should direct the course of my study. I come from the environment world. I'm a forest economist in terms of the work I do and the job responsibilities I have in Guyana. And I was struggling to find a way to make what really was an environmental perspective be fit for purpose for the business world, and to apply economics in a way that makes sense to the world of environment. And I couldn't find that nexus. And then I met Professor Adams, and he showed me the way to make those what seemed to be sometimes very different worlds, the world of economics and the world of environment, converge in such a way that looking at issues like equality and justice and livelihoods become now everyday themes that I think about. So I would say coming out of the 2.5 to 3 year journey working with Professor Adams, getting guidance from Professor Adams, really has opened up my mind to areas that I never thought would have been possible to think about main areas of work on environment. When I first heard about Professor Adams, I know that he's a very renowned economist. Following my engagement with Professor Adams now for 3 years, I think I can redefine Professor Adams to be a champion of the environment. Like hearing from Professor Adams, I think he has more of a passion for the environment than economics. Not sure if you would agree with that, Professor Adams, but I strongly believe that that's the case. And when we speak about the Sustainable Development Goals, I feel such a passion now for SDG 13 and 15 that I didn't feel before. And it's because of Professor Adams's inspiration speaking about climate action and why that is important to our world today, and speaking about life on land and looking at nature as a big part of what we need to do as humanity as we move forward and look at that intersection between environment and economics. So just wanted to share those few words as I bring up my slides, and to add that I know a lot of my colleagues here in the room have spoken about work that they have taken on board following the conclusion of their studies. And I hope that I will also have that relationship with Professor Adams as we build out work together in terms of publications and engaging with various journals and other research work, building out from what we started in a more mentor-mentee relationship. I'll share my slides. Please let me know if you're able to see them.
Yes, we see them.
Right.
Yes, excellent. Go ahead.
So my thesis, which I'll discuss a bit about, has to do with assessing the impact of climate finance on low carbon development. And my focus was specifically on the developments in Guyana, but with a reference to other countries that have passed through a similar pathway, including neighboring countries in our region, such as Suriname, and also other forest countries, such as Papua New Guinea, such as looking at Gabon and other areas that have high forest cover and a strong interaction with climate finance. My thesis was involved mainly in looking at investigating the role of climate finance in low carbon development in Guyana, and looking at crucial aspects such as justice and benefit sharing, and addressing matters of the scalability and the replicability of the findings and the path and the journey of Guyana to other countries around the world, and how this could potentially bring about important lessons learned. As a background to Guyana, we took cognizance of the fact that Guyana has a high percentage of forest cover. Over 85% of the land is covered in forest, and it's a huge part of the conversation on global advocacy for climate action, integrating forest, integrating nature as we think about sustainable livelihoods. And what we recognized from the very outset was that even though this conversation has been going on for a very long time, emphasizing the importance of climate action to the conversation on justice and equality and the sustenance of human life, there has been little empirical evidence on the climate finance side to juxtapose what has been the impact of that financing stream, where that has existed, to the overall conversation on climate action. Has it been effective? What has that impact been? And what can we anticipate to be the next steps and the results as we take this forward? With that in mind, I built out the theoretical framework and the effectiveness framework, underpinning what to be understood to be the dynamics both at the national and at the global level, in looking at options that could be examined not just in terms of justice, but in terms of measurement of impact and effectiveness of climate finance streams. And with that in mind, I set about to address three main objectives. Firstly, to assess the impact of climate finance on low carbon development, to identify measures of assessing welfare, efficiency, and justice in climate finance, and looking at the manner in which the model built in Guyana could be replicated and scaled. The means through which my data was acquired was through questionnaires and interviews, and this led to descriptive analysis and as well as quantitative analysis that built the model that I then used to analyze the impact and the effectiveness of climate finance on low carbon development. Among the main areas of results of my study, it was quite obvious from the data that we saw that the majority of climate finance in terms of the mainstream coming into the country was through grant-based financing. That, of course, comes with the usual challenges of being short-term, of being limited in terms of the scale and the level. And there was clearly scope for this to be diversified to areas where there could be more longevity in financing streams. And Guyana's experience in implementing projects on the adaptation side, the mitigation side, and the sustainable livelihood side brought that to bear about the importance of moving beyond grant-based financing and looking at the spread of the projects that have been financed by grants, but that need continuous financing and support to be able to be sustained. On the right of the screen, you see a map of Guyana with the spread of projects that I examined on my thesis. It was an examination of 98 projects that are spread across the categories as you see on the left-hand side of the screen. I conducted correlation analysis looking at the relationship between investment level and carbon emissions reductions, looking at investment levels and job creation, and looking at investment levels and the number of households that benefited from being more adaptable to climate change following the conclusion of the finance impacts and the financial investments. Through Professor Adams's guidance, I was able to use existing structures and existing methods, including Pareto optimality analysis, which I would add, this was one, I believe, of the more novel elements of the study that was undertaken. It is the first time that this kind of analysis was applied to the world of nature and the world of climate projects, and looking at ways that Pareto optimality could be used beyond the typical traditional and conventional economic type of analysis. And with the utilization of Pareto optimality, I was able to identify across the broad range of 20 years, which was the time series covered by my study, and over 98 projects, I was able to narrow down those projects that had the highest level of efficiency in terms of meeting investment levels with a higher rate of emissions reductions recorded for those projects. So that optimality and that balance between investment level and emissions reductions, Pareto optimality was able to define what that meant and to narrow down what those projects are. In a similar way, I was able to apply existing methods, including the Tinbergen rule, which traditionally, again, was not used in the world of environment and nature. But this time, I used it to show that it could have, and it does have, applicability beyond the usual economic type of analysis and application, to examine and to establish the effectiveness index in terms of what the projects have led to. In a similar way, I've also applied the cobweb model to show the interaction between commodity prices for traditional commodities, such as fossil fuel, and how this is juxtaposed with analyses on carbon credits and carbon prices, as this could be, and this has offered, a new frontier for climate financing for Guyana, and also potentially for forest countries with similar characteristics like Guyana. So it really led to a lot of interesting areas for discussion, including looking at how climate finance has contributed to low carbon development, looking at ways in which justice and equality and sustainable livelihoods could come to be central parts of the conversation and no longer on the periphery of discussion when we speak about effectiveness. This fortunately led me to accomplish almost all of the the research questions that I set out to examine, all of them having been met or partly met, with one of them being partly met. And this was recognizing the fact for Objective 2 Research Question 4, that justice is such a broad area and would require even more areas of examination than those covered under my thesis, and therefore areas for future follow-up work in terms of establishing the full examination of whether distributive justice has been achieved. I believe at the end of the study that I've managed to fill a 20-year time series data gap, which did not exist for Guyana prior to my study, and to offer as well important information on how climate finance helps to define and could define in the future the way in which climate investments are planned out for adaptation, for mitigation, and for sustainable livelihoods. And a lot of what would be follow-up actions have been identified as limitations, including more work needing to be done on the justice component, looking perhaps at including more data sets at the impact level, and including this in a way to even expand the time series to further years into the future and on a continuous basis. I believe that there is strong room for comparative cross-country studies, and this could have replicability not just within the Caribbean or the Latin American region, but also in Africa and across South countries. There is a lot of room for the lessons learned to be taken, looking at not just typical environmental areas, but social areas as well, looking at ways in which gender, looking at ways in which livelihoods could be considered as we talk about impacts. As my final slide, I share a few conclusions and reflections on the work that was concluded as part of my thesis. Without question, we found that climate finance is a transformative development lever. And without this funding, a lot of the activities on climate adaptation, mitigation, and livelihoods would not have been possible. It is also clearly evident that there are a lot of co-benefits to investments in climate, outside of the typical emissions reductions, job creation, and other aspects. There is that inculcating of the recognition of the importance of nature and how this really connects to the work that we do and as we plan out development at a national scale. And the whole argument of justice is embedded so centrally in the conversation between economics and environment, and looking at the driving force of protecting and conserving nature as the vehicle through which we will achieve what humanity expects for nature to be in the future, for the world to be a livable world for us as we pass on to the next generation. So I would like to thank you for giving me space, Professor Allen, at this conference, at this important conference. And to just close by thanking Professor Adams again. You know, I think at the end of the journey, as I look back over the last few years, I have such a greater passion for the environment than I started off with. And I think I'm even more convinced now than I started off being that the work that we do at the intersection between economics and environment must be continued. And it really is up to us to take that forward. Professor Adams, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. I would not have been here without your guidance, your kindness, and your support. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you, Pradeepa, and an excellent presentation. And there's so much more that we can do. I mean, earlier on, we heard from, I think it was Professor Nayem, about 2 special issues. I was thinking, Pradeepa, one of those issues on I think it was not climate change, but environmental. We could definitely do something on that for the special issue.
Yeah,
good.
Definitely. And I think Gail Rigobert will be very happy. We will introduce you to her, Brady, because one of she knows Joe from 2004. She was Minister of Sustainable Development in St. Lucia. We came actually, our conference was hosted by Trinidad in 2010, University of West Indies, but it's really, wallahi, I don't know what to say, John, but hearing to this, I don't know. I mean, universities when they see these videos, I mean, this is our unbelievable testimonies of the last 3 years are very, very touchy, Pradeep. I mean, all these people, they keep repeating, I wouldn't have been here, I wouldn't have done this. I mean, and I think, I know you're overwhelmed, John and Ron, by what you keep hearing from this is very little number of students of yours. But at the same time, I want you to know that John and Ron, I have seen by my own eyes, and I have even went to supervisor workshop as a staff at Sussex. And the supervisor, a very experienced professor from Lancaster, was supervising us, the staff. In one of the sessions, it was about students complain against supervisors. Yes, that was part of the training the university is providing to us, the professors. And there's a lot of, I have seen myself, I've been involved in too, as one of the intermediaries to solve problems with students complaining about supervisor not giving them, complaining, destroying their future. And that professor said from Lancaster, there were even few cases in his history where students actually went to the court to complain about getting refunded and so on. So don't be overwhelmed, John and Ron, of what you hear here, because you are very extreme. And I think you should be very proud of what you have. I mean, listening to this one. Yeah. I wanted very proud you should be, John, really. And I think you deserve that. You have done massive of all, affecting these people from all different. And I think the important thing to me, these people are coming from different cultural background. I respect cultural very well. Look to Guinea, what is it? India, Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, all you have left impact on all these people. And if you can see my career, what's his name, praised earlier from Uganda.
John
these people, yeah, these people, their perception about the relationships, the caring, how they appreciate that. All of them are talking about one language. Ali from Egypt, all of them, they are referring, yes, everyone acknowledge how distinguished you both are. There's no question about that. But the important part, which is missing in all supervisors, I really like that word Ali said. Ali said, he learned from you that supervising students is not an administrative task. For many universities now, supervision for master students become more of administrative task. Oh, I got 40, 50, you finish them, you want to go for your holiday. That's a very strong statement. Many universities are struggling from these people treated as administrative stuff. I am very cautious of the time, and I know we already over. Where is Christian? Christian, no, it's not Christian, sorry. He spoke last year. Patrick, Patrick, can you hear me? If we miss him, I'm really sorry, Patrick. But Patrick is one of John Adams' students. He spoke last year. He gave a fantastic presentation in our conference. Patrick, are you here? Now, I think Patrick, we left him. We really apologize, but we want to finish this one because I think people need to go for their lunch. We kept the people we kept John and Ron also long. But I see there, Nasreen, I'm not sure whether you are still following us or not, but if you are following us, oh, excellent. So John, I didn't even know Dr. Nasreen will be here. She is not one of your students. She joined this, and I can see her. She's still there. She's a she's a consultant from Saudi Arabia, but she's very well known someone training people about emotion, about community building, family. She's a doctor. Nasreen, I see you sitting here from the start. Shall we ask you, what do you feel about what you hear so far?
Really, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'm very happy to be one of the candidates who listened to you today. I'm really very pleased by what I have already heard. And maybe sometimes we feel sorry that we haven't been one of the students of these great individuals who has already talked today, which is, it's not only a scientific talk, it touches our lives and it touches our hearts, that يعني بالعربي كده اللي كل يعني في دين مستحق our teachers, and I'm feeling too much appreciating all those who have spoken about their administrators and their teachers in this. يعني أنا بصراحة amazed by what I heard today, and this is a lesson for life, that we have to be one who can give others, our students in universities. We learn from you. We learn how to be giving from heart. We learn how to be responsible for the future generations' future, in order to give them good lessons in the era of AI, and how to use and how to control it. We have to have our يعني strong based cultural and belief in order to use the tools in the right way. And I feel my responsibility towards the future generations. Maybe I am unable to speak because I never thought I can participate in this chance in order to talk to people like you. I'm very honored to you, Dr. Allam, Prof. Allam, for allowing me to participate in this conference, and really I'm sorry for not witnessing the previous sessions. Here we are giving humanitarian messages that we are not providing health. I'm a doctor. I'm working the women child health sector. I'm a director of women child health clinics. We train our people in how to present the service from their heart, and how to be يعني to use the tools, to use the AI, and to use what is available for presenting the best version of their service. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk and to share
Thank you very much,
my voice.
Dora. Thank you very much. And you know, John Nasreen is a consultant in public health. I mean, you can imagine she was here. I saw her because I know her. I can see her profile. But what she said in Arabic, John, she said in Arabic, what is it in English? Sorry, the meaning of what that statement is very strong statement. She said, people like you make the students or those people feel like they are in debt to you for all their lives, because you change their lives, really, John. But one thing, I think I will give you the final word, John, but I think we need to conclude this. But one thing important, John, I think these are very, very little samples of people. In December, I was in Jordan for the Times Higher Arab ranking. And one of the people I met was the vice chancellor of Birmingham University in Dubai. She said, as the vice chancellor, she said, I don't see my role as anything more than a caretaker. I'm taking care of something. I'm going to hand it over to someone. So I'm a caretaker of something. This is she said, the way I see. She's one of the most successful vice chancellor actually in the Arab countries. She was in the UK before she moved to take care of Birmingham University. She said, I always see this is a responsibility. I'm taking care of it. I'm giving it to someone else. And I think that's exactly what you have done, John. But many people fail. And that statement from Ali, it's just a very strong statement. He said, many people now, as the British University, they still see the role of a head of a department is, he said, he's always there. He'll always, I'm present. It's not physically mean you're there in the office, okay, welcome. But like you said, Nasreen, emotionally, people, they know John is there. He's available. Even if he might not be in the office, he's available. But thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the people. I will give John, I think Ron on somewhere on the road now. But thank you, all of you. And all of you, the one who contributed, please stay in touch. We will make sure we will definitely get these papers published. And we will also like people like you, all of you actually, to join us in these journals John and Ron built. We will definitely get in touch with you, like you, Baradib, Manimana from Makarir. Join the editorial board, because this is we are a caretakers. I am a caretaker. This is what John and Ron did. Let's hand it over to people like you, because we were one day the same like you. We finished our PhD with John, and then we continued. I think that's the right thing to say. So join us, please. A little of the debt you have to John Adams, which is also to us, take care of this organization. So I will stop here, John. I will give you the final word, John.
Well, thank you very much for all the effort you've put in, you and your team, for this conference from Tuesday until today. It's just been wonderful what you've done, and Ron and myself really do feel much appreciation for what you've done. So I want to thank you and your team, and I also want to thank all my students who were here. So we've got, and this gives you an idea of the scale, I think, that we're able to achieve now in higher education. So thank you to Ali from Egypt, Pradeepa from Guyana, Bajinath from Trinidad and Tobago, Curtis from South Africa, Chucks from Abu Dhabi, and Patrick from Germany. It's like a list of the World Cup teams.
And you have Ibrahim, who just been teaching, Professor Ibrahim in UAE.
That's
Ibrahim
right.
Abdullah. You have, what's his name, Khan, Professor Khan in Oxford. He's teaching today.
Yes.
The list will
That's
go
right.
on and on, John, really. The same
I
for
know.
Ron. And I think you know much better about people worldwide. And I think that's what is missing. But thank you very much, John. And I'm really hoping,
Thank you.
seriously, many people, they would love to see you again. And we will see what the best way
Yeah,
to
we
do
will.
that.
Yes.
And we wish you all the best, you and Ron. We wish your families. And I think one thing to say, the best way, I think someone said it to me when I was talking about you. And he said to me, because one of the people who met you in the conferences in 2004, he said to me, Ron and John, they are best of the best. And I think you are best of the best, John. I think you are best of the best academics worldwide. I have seen academic all this world, many countries I have visited. But the dedication, the caring, is unbelievable. And you have seen it from at least 5 or 6 now, but there's many of them. Thank you very much. And I wish you a very happy weekend. And Ron also, the very happy weekends, all of you. And Baggy, I think I will see you. He's a fantastic guy, really. We had a pleasure of meeting him 2 days. We'll see him today. So all the best. And we stop from here. Good afternoon.
Thank
good evening.
you.
Have a very nice weekend. All the best.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Can I ask if you're all available? Just can you come on camera? We take a picture. If anyone would like to come on camera quickly, we will take that picture. If we can. Wanimana, thank you very much. Excellent. Yes, yes. Good. But yes, yes. So we will take the picture now, Curtis. Thank you very much. Okay. And I will send it to you now. The screen. And it is in the chat. Where is the chat? Yeah. I think this is Ron. Ron, you want to say anything before we go? Ron? I can see Ron just entered. Sorry, he went. Oh, yeah, Ron, yes. If you, we give you a final word if you like. If you're not driving, yeah. I think you need to unmute, Ron. You are muted.
Sorry about that.
Final word for you, Ron, yes.
Okay. Well, just again, to thank all of the students and participants. I mean, very thoughtful comments as well from all the students. And thank you, Alan, for all that you've done, the whole conference, and particularly today. So I just endorse what John said. And I must say, I've listened to the whole day. I happen to be on mute, but I have been listening to the entire day. So thank you very much again, Alan, and all the participants. And let us pass it on to the next generation.
Thank you very much. And anytime you and John find the time, you are relaxed, and maybe in August, the weather is nice in Scotland. If you come with any idea, Ron and John, seriously, many people I talked to them, they said, ask them, what can we do to keep you still, I'm not saying active, you have always been active, but anything we can do to, I don't know, to support you to still be involved, please do, John and Ron. All the best to your families, and I'm sure they're all very proud of you. I think there is nothing better if my daughter can hear people talking about me like this. I think that's the best thing for you both. Your family should be very proud of you. All the best, all the best, all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All of you.
Bye.
John.
Bye.